Welcome, everybody, to the Fastback Podcast, where we discuss the beauty that is the Fast and Furious franchise, among other related action movies. My name is Justin. I'm joined, as always, by my best friend, Leif.
Howdy.
Leif is podcasting. This is the first time I've seen this. This is our 9th episode, and he seems to be getting more comfortable because this is the first time that you've podcasted with your shoes off.
Is it? Oh, yes. My shoes are off.
Shoes are off for this episode.
I am one step away from a bathrobe, and
which is the beauty about podcasting is you could be wearing a bathrobe with no shoes. Nobody could tell.
No one on the internet knows your dog.
So thank you for joining us again, everybody. We're going to go through a few things real quick before we get to this week's episode. I always try to bury the lead on what the episode is to try to make it a surprise when we're done with the news. I don't know why, because you see the link that you're clicking on. You know the movie that we're talking about. I don't know why I try to
it's not a surprise.
Yeah, I don't know why I try to surprise people with what the episode is going to be. But the episode is slightly surprising for anyone who has listened to us before, because we are talking about the 2004 movie Catwoman. I don't know why. Well, we know why. We figured that there's a very good, and I'll talk about it a little bit in a minute, DC movie that came out this past week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman making a lot of money, getting a lot of critical acclaim, not only as a movie, but as a superhero movie, as a female-led superhero movie. So being the Fastback Podcast, we decided to look, what can we do that's the exact opposite of that? And there just happens to be a gem of a movie, of course, Catwoman, that is a terrible female-led DC Comics superhero movie. And maybe, surprisingly enough, the last time that there was a female-led, maybe Elektra. I think we saw Elektra at the $2 theater too, didn't we?
If we did, I blocked that from my memory.
I think we saw Catwoman at the $2 theater. This is a $2 classic, correct?
Yeah, this is...
Now, we said we would explain this week, before we get to the news real quick, what a $2 classic is. And we talked a little bit about it in our first episode, our introduction. There used to be a $2 theater halfway between where we both live.
Yeah.
And we used to meet there once a week, or at least once every other week, just to hang out. And we would just pick whatever random...
watch whatever horrible movie was currently...
And it didn't start out that way.
No.
It started out as we were trying to pick a movie that we wanted to see. And then it eventually evolved into...
we were
deliberately trying to find the most ridiculous thing we could find. Yeah. So the birth of the $2 movies, and this is definitely one of those $2 classics, as was, and what we have referred to before as the greatest of the $2 movie experience, Tokyo Drift. Which fits right into this podcast, which we will eventually get into Tokyo Drift. Real quick, if you're listening to this and you're saying, when did these guys talk about the Fast and the Furious? We realize that it's been a while. We space them out because there's only 8 of them. And we want to continue to do this for a while. At first, we were just going to knock out the 8 movies as a podcasting experiment and call it a day, and just to get a taste for what it was like. But we enjoy it, so we decided...
Yeah, we turned our passion into a podcast.
And we decided that, no, let's just run with this for a while.
Yeah.
So we better space out the Fast and Furious movies.
Ultimately, in my head, I've been treating this whole connected universe. I've mentioned it a few times, I think. Yes. It's the shared universe of all of these movies.
So you're saying, in a very egotistical way, that any movie that we discuss on this podcast, because it's been discussed on the Fastback Podcast, is now part of a shared universe?
Yes.
All right.
Hey, no, because this ties in with last week with Top Gun Quantum Leap crossover.
That's true.
It makes perfect sense.
So this is the Fastback shared universe. So that's what a $2 classic was. Catwoman was definitely a $2 classic, as was, I think, Elektra. But long rambling point being, with all these superhero movies, it's been a long time since there's been a female-led superhero movie, and very surprising for a lot of people that Marvel wasn't the first to do it with Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson. She's shown up in a number of Iron Man and Avengers and Captain America movies. You would have thought that they would have been first to the punch on that, but they were not. And you have the iconic Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, I saw yesterday. You did not see it. I saw it on one of my Monday matinees. And I'm not going to get into a big, long review because, as we've said many times, we're not critics. We just talk about movies from scene to scene. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was pretty good. I think you'd like it. I don't know if you would go to the theater to see it, but I think if one day if you and your wife are sitting and it pops up on Netflix or Amazon, give it a watch. It was a good superhero movie. It was a good origin movie. Gal Gadot, I believe is how you say it. I think I've been saying it wrong this whole entire time, but I've been saying Gal Gadot. I guess it's Gal Gadot. She was great in it. Very powerful. Had a great screen presence. Chris Pine and her chemistry was very good, which is important for these movies. There was a lot of message about being a strong female character and doing what you're going to do as an individual, and a little bit of not, doing what a man is going to tell you to do, but following what you need to do for yourself. But the thing that I appreciated about it was there was enough of that there because there needed to be, but it wasn't constantly hitting you over the head with its message. Its message came from not speaking. Its message came not from the dialogue in the scenes, but where it should have come from, just the actions of the movie. Her actions as a character. Actions speak louder than words, da-da-da-da-da. So I really think they had a nice blend with that. Just to wrap it up, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I really liked it.
I wanted to watch it, so.
Yeah, it's a good superhero movie, and I need to cleanse
the Catwoman out of my system.
I think you would like it, and it's definitely, probably, I will say, the best of the DC Universe movies, even though I really did like Man of Steel quite a bit. But this was just very enjoyable. So enough about Wonder Woman for now. When you do end up seeing it, sooner or later, I do want to definitely, though, hear your thoughts on it. But yeah, that's why we chose to do Catwoman this week. We said, okay, what kind of ties in with this? We're gonna do it.
We are taking the "it takes the good, it takes the bad" facts of life philosophy, where we are now taking the bad.
The Facts of Life Fastback podcast. News. Okay, news ties into. Usually we don't have a lot of news. We're not newsbreakers. I realize I'm telling you a lot of what we don't do.
But we have seen the movie Newsies.
Yeah, I've never seen Newsies. I got it on VHS one year for Christmas, and the person who gave it to me was very excited to give it to me. Was it you? No, I think I got it from my folks.
Yeah.
And that was about to be really awkward. What do you mean you didn't see Newsies? That was me that gave you that VHS.
That movie meant a lot to me. I wanted to share it.
They really liked it, and they were excited for me to watch it, and I don't think I ever opened the VHS.
Yeah, it's a terrible
VHS, movie. DVDs, everybody has movies in their collection that you've never taken that plastic off of.
Oh, yeah.
I still, going through the basement, will sometimes find VHSs that I just never opened.
I marvel at going into half-price books and seeing the VHSs that aren't open.
Yeah.
How did it survive this many years?
And there's certain DVDs that I have that I've never opened that I kind of want to watch. But being that I'm a grade A lunatic, I look at that and I go, man, I brought that Saving Private Ryan DVD in 2002 and I haven't opened it this whole time. I'm not opening it. I can't break the tradition of opening that Saving Private Ryan DVD. That's true. A little insight to the therapy that I potentially need. Something to play back when the tragic event happens and if people are trying to piece together of what happened.
What led up to.
So leaving lots of evidence behind. That's what this Fastback podcast is all about. News.
Yes.
As I was saying, we usually don't go on a big news thing. We're not breaking news to anybody. News segments on podcasts, other than getting people's reaction to me, are always absurd. Because I've never listened to a podcast. This may sound arrogant, but I've never listened to a movie podcast where someone is going to say something and I go, well, I didn't know about that. Because if you go on movie news websites every day... You've
seen it on Twitter or somewhere.
You've seen it somewhere, but we are going to discuss this.
Podcasts are the slow food of the media industry.
Yeah, you're not going to a podcast for news, but every podcast has a news section because got to fill that time, baby. Yeah. And if there's one thing, I don't know if you've listened to our podcast, if there's one thing you've noticed we have problems with is filling up time, which is not true at all.
No. Oh, no.
So thank you for joining in on these marathons that we tend to do. Top Gun, Tom Cruise announced the name of the sequel that we discussed last week when we did our Top Gun review. This filled me with so much joy. Did you see the tweet that I did on this?
No.
Even though we're begging for people to go on our Twitter, not even you are going on our Twitter at this point to see our tweets. But I'm glad you didn't, because like I said in the car on the way here, I almost didn't tweet this because I thought that you would have seen it, and I wanted to get your initial reaction. I wanted your live reaction. This filled me with so much pure joy because it so feeds in to everything that we said last week. It just shows how right we were. Are you ready for the name of the Top Gun sequel?
Hit me.
Top Gun Maverick.
Maverick?
No, not just Maverick. Top Gun, Maverick.
Yeah.
It's the worst title of all time.
Oh, yeah.
But it's proofs. It's all about
it's Maverick.
Me.
Maverick is...
It's all about
the biggest narcissist.
Oh, God. Folks, we talk about it for almost 3 hours if you want to go back to last week's episode.
Yeah, we're not... I don't want to spend any more time talking about Maverick.
We're not spending any more time talking about Maverick. But that's just... As a sequel title, I was trying to think like... Well, yeah, Rocky came out with Rocky Balboa, but the first one was already called Rocky. Rambo's called Rambo, but that's already established in the second sequel. It's like a weird, like...
Maybe it's gonna be like broken down Rocky, but it's broken down Maverick.
That's fine for the content of it or for whatever it's about. But I mean, for the title, I was trying to think of like other franchises where if it just came out and it was just like the name of the character, you know, like Back to the Future, Doc Brown. It wouldn't be. So Top Gun Maverick.
Why not?
Okay, man. He said it's gonna have an 80s feel. This will be interesting to see how your nostalgia kicks in. Your hatred of nostalgia. All the way down to they're going to use the same soundtrack, score. I'm sure those soundtracks, I'm sure Danger Zone is going to be in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
But they're going to use the same score. He wants to use that synthy score. He wants it to have a very 80s feel.
Well, this will give the synthwave folks on Tumblr something to be happy about.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And then we also... gives us a good segue there because speaking of Top Gun music, you had pointed out to me,
I had not
post
seen this, but laziness prevented me, as it prevents me from going on Twitter. Watched the original "Take My Breath Away" music video on YouTube.
Yes,
and I'll post a link up there sometime.
Oh, it's great
tonight or tomorrow, but it You watched that. You did a totally different movie than you did from watching the actual movie.
I had never seen it. And you, again, this is something we talked about in the car ride over here. You said you watched it. And I said, really? You know, that's interesting. And I said, I want to watch it. So
it's a wonderful little love story.
It's great. Yeah. We were watching it, so we threw it on there when we were sitting, getting ready, setting up, and I watched it. And...
a lot of dreamy-eyed looks back and forth.
Yeah, it shows footage of the movie, as was the way with tie-in.
Yeah, you're telling the love story.
I have a note here. I took notes even for this music video. I said, do I like Top Gun? After 3 hours last week of talking about how much I didn't like Top Gun, I started watching this and I was like, was I wrong about everything? Do I like Top Gun? This makes Top Gun look great.
Oh, yeah. Maybe everyone just saw this and not the actual movie.
It's possible. I almost kind of want to go back and watch Top Gun again just because of this music video. So it did its job. The music video itself, we're not going to sit here and talk for 20 minutes about a music video from 32 years ago. But I think it was a crashed plane.
Yeah, she was sitting on a crashed plane.
There was pilots following her.
And then there's like two random like
ghosts,
80s street tough looking guys.
Yeah, we think those were band members, and maybe it turned out the pilots were ghosts. And then we noticed halfway through that it looked like her dress was torn and had scorch marks. Yeah, so we think she was a ghost. Point is, Goose's magical dog tags making an appearance in this.
Halfway through the show.
Halfway through the
80s
show,
band members hand off the dog tags and smile.
So we already have a second element to my Goose's Magical Dog Tag Shared Universe CBS style weekly show where every week somebody finds Goose's dog tags and they give him the power.
You're tied into the spirit world.
Yeah, you're tied into the spirit world and they give you the power to overcome whatever obstacle that you have. Guy finds job. Girl's able to break up with loser boyfriend, such and such every week, and then the next week they throw the dog tags out into the ocean, and the dog tags wash up someplace else, and
continue to work their magic.
I think 7 seasons easy.
Oh, yeah.
All right. One more thing in news, folks. If it seems like we are doing everything we can to not talk about the movie that we set out to talk about, it's a very deliberate choice.
Because
there's
we
a
are.
reason for it. We really don't want to talk about Catwoman that much. I almost called you, and it was because I already had watched it. I almost called you halfway through and pulled an old, I don't watch sports. What's it called when the quarterback changes an audible?
Yeah.
When he changes the play halfway through, because he can say how the enemy team, that shows how much I watch sports.
The enemy team.
The enemy team is lining up in a certain way that makes him believe that they know what's coming, so he changes it. I almost, I almost called you up and was like, yeah, we got to pick something else real quick. But we already talked about it. We already did the tweet. It wouldn't be the first time that we said we were going to talk about something next week and changed it, but it was too late at that point.
Yeah, I had already invested my time, and
it was too late.
There was no going back.
Yeah, there was no going back. We watched a trailer real quick that we linked on our Twitter. Again, Tom Cruise. We have a segment every week called Cruise News. No, we shouldn't.
No, I mean we could, but we shouldn't.
Our original idea for one of our podcasts was called. I don't even know if I should. I don't want it to get stolen. We may do it someday. But hey, now we show that it was our idea. Tomfoolery.
Yep.
Where every other week we either watch a Tom Cruise movie or a Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll still do that.
We could.
We probably won't. But yeah, we're talking a lot about Tom Cruise. So we promise with Top Gun last week, with the American Made trailer that we're about to talk about this week, and we're seeing The Mummy next week. After that, we got to take a long break from Tom Cruise.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a little
long break. Then the next Tom Cruise will probably be Days of Thunder.
Yep.
Sometime maybe in the winter. And then next year, we have kind of discussed this, and this is way early to talk about, but our push this summer, because the big movie was Fast and the Furious, was of course Fast and the Furious movies. Next summer, there's a Mission Impossible movie. So we're thinking that our kind of every so often push through next summer will be the Mission Impossible movies. But that's way down the road. This podcast could change.
Yeah, we could be dead
20
by then.
different times. We could easily be dead by then. American Made trailer. Tom Cruise plays a real-life pilot who I guess worked for the CIA, smuggling drugs, and so on and so on and so on. What I thought it looked pretty exciting. What did you think? Any real reaction to it?
I mean, it looked really exciting from the trailers, but trailers will fool me every single time. But what it did remind me of is Catch Me If You Can.
It did remind me a lot of Catch Me If You Can. You're spot on about
Where
that. Did you like Catch Me If You Can?
I kind of liked it.
Okay, I was very disappointed by it because that's a movie that had an incredible trailer.
Yeah.
That was going to be the be-all, end-all of that movie.
Yeah.
And it was all right.
Yeah. So that's what worries me, though. That's what it's like. It should be exciting. It should be like, oh man, crazy guy does a bunch of CIA goofy drug stuff.
What about the accent? Did you think the accent was all right?
He is not a Southern man.
He's not a Southern man, and I have a feeling like this could be classic, like it's going to come and go throughout the movie. Because there was scenes even in the trailer where the accent was much stronger.
Yeah.
And then that scene when he's talking about the Cadillac, which was a cool little scene.
Oh, it was a funny
He just
scene.
sounded like Tom Cruise. There was scenes in there where he sounded like Tom Cruise. We established last week that I am a huge Tom Cruise fan. Leif is not.
I hate Tom Cruise. Well, I don't hate him. I shouldn't say that. I just do not enjoy his movies.
We're going to change that. That's been the whole sneaky goal of this podcast, is to slowly gain Leif's trust into thinking we're doing one thing. And every so often I'm going to introduce more and more Tom Cruise brainwashing. And by the end of it...
You sucked me in through Fast and Furious, and immediately I am the biggest Tom
do a
Cruise
bait and switch,
fanboy.
and now we're going to be watching Mission Impossible movies. This is directed by Doug Liman, who directed Tom Cruise and really, and this is no exaggeration, I think an incredible movie called Edge of Tomorrow. Rebranded for its home video release as Live, Die, Repeat. That's one that I highly recommend that even if we don't watch it for the podcast, that you watch one of these days. It's a very cool movie. And again, we see that he works with directors he's worked with before. I'm pumped for this one. This may be my new movie that I'm looking forward to fallish. I think they said it came out at the very end of September. So this may be one of the movies that I'm looking forward to most this year. Of a non-genre variety, where it's not a sci-fi movie or a superhero sequel or part of a larger franchise or a horror movie. It's just like, oh, this is refreshing. This is just a movie. I'm going to go see a story. This isn't going to span 20 sequels. It's not going to be setting up 5 other movies.
Yeah.
Like I have a feeling we're going to see next week, where it's just going to be Easter egg upon Easter egg shoved into the Mummy, where he's going to be having a scene where he walks past like, a cape that Russell Crowe has displayed in like a glass case at that library. Whose cape was that? We'll get to him another time. Like, I have a feeling like we'll talk about the Mummy in great detail next week, but I have a feeling like it's going to be a lot of setting the table
for another
the Dark Universe, which they just announced today. They're also going to be, in addition to the Wolfman and Creature from the Black Lagoon and Bride of Frankenstein and all this, they said they're going to also remake The Hunchback of Notre Dame and another one that escapes me.
As long as they don't remake Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
I bet you they do an Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein, but it's like Kevin James and Adam Sandler.
They'd have to pull Adam Sandler from his Netflix.
Yeah, I wish I could remember I'm not going to sit here and try to remember live on the air, but it was, as I then continue to try to remember live on air, it was Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I don't remember the other one. But anyway. So that's kind of it for the news. American Made. Maybe it's a theater watch. Maybe it's a not. But on to the main event. Like I said, if it seemed like that was a little bit longer of an introduction, there's a reason for that.
We are dancing around talking about Catwoman.
We are dancing around talking about Catwoman.
We dance around talking about family issues.
My first note. Okay, anyone listening for the first time? I'm sorry. This isn't usually the type of thing we do. But anyone really listening for the first time, I have a mountain full of notes to keep us on track. Otherwise, we will not stay on track, especially with this movie.
Because
I give it to Leif to explain the plot. I interject with certain plot points. We discuss them. And that's kind of how this goes. My first note is, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I made us watch this. This was my idea, folks. Leif is usually a good sport.
It wasn't a terrible idea. It just wasn't a good idea.
No.
I do know. Okay, so I'm just going to cut to the chase here. The movie started for me with a really weird, I don't know, ethnocentric history of the Catwoman as told through very bad deviant art projects.
It wasn't. It started to segue into a history of Catwoman.
Oh yeah, no. At
first, it just started out as a history of cats.
Yeah, it was cats.
And with like this weird Egyptian, and there was this music playing.
They're like, oh, see, it's Egyptian, and then they go over to China, and then they like cut in with like really terrible like fan art of like women dressed up as cats.
Yeah, they start to hit on what the kind of we learn later is that all throughout history there's been Catwomen, and then they talk about the Salem witch trials, and the whole time they're showing, like you said, all these pictures. And there's just like a cat down in the corner.
Yeah.
Like, cats were here through all of this.
And there's like, women in cat masks and like medieval woodblock prints of women in cat masks.
Yeah. And we learn why throughout the movie.
So,
can I make a quick note?
Okay.
This is just one more thing before we start talking about Catwoman. And it's in directly ties into what we're talking about. I don't want to be a negative podcast where two guys just watch a crappy movie and sit around and just throw shade at it. I would love just to sit here and talk about stuff that we enjoyed, we love. So anybody listening, this is going to be negative, but this is not what we're setting out to try to do every week. It just so happened we didn't like Top Gun, and this is Catwoman. So...
yeah, and you know, I'm not viewing this as negative. I'm viewing this as putting a good light on a bad lifestyle choice.
Phantom of the Opera. I did it. Phantom of the Opera was the other one that they're going to remake, which I think could be pretty cool if they do it correctly. I don't know how they're going to do Hunchback of Notre Dame, because he's not a monster, and I think in today's what should be sensitive climate, you just can't have a guy who's deformed.
Yeah.
be, this guy's a monster. So it'll be very interesting to see how they do that. So yes, Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame are the two ones in this dark universe that I don't think is going to happen, because I think The Mummy is tracking to make like $25 million in its opening weekend.
Well, let's get back.
Thank you for listening to the Fastback podcast this week.
Let's get back to our own dark universe.
Catwoman. So, Catwoman, part of the reason why this was so disappointing is the magical summer of 1992. We waited all year for a little movie called Batman Returns.
Yes.
Where we see an incredible, iconic performance from Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman that this was never going to be able to touch, but it doesn't even come close. And it was supposed to be a spinoff. They were talking about this movie for almost a decade. It was in a development hell type thing. It was supposed to be Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman in a spinoff directed by Tim Burton, written by the same guy. I think his name is Daniel Waters. I could be wrong about that, folks. He had wrote a screenplay for this. I was reading online that an interview where he said he turned that screenplay in the day Batman Forever came out. And in hindsight, that was a mistake, because obviously the tone of Batman Forever was not what Batman and Batman Returns was.
Yeah.
We've talked about that many times, not on the podcast, but in general. Batman Returns, for anybody who doesn't know, and it is related, came out and was not a movie for kids, but was marketed to kids with toys, Happy Meals. I still every now and then will come across, when I'm going through boxes, the little Catwoman card that came from the Happy Meal where you push it and the tail spins back and forth, or the penguin and the duck where he bobs up and down in the little duck. Cups.
The cups?
I collected the big cups from McDonald's when they still had the Super Size Me thing where you could get the
special.
We talked about those Batman Return cups a couple weeks ago with the discs that would go on top for the lid. God, I love that stuff.
Yeah, there's a little frisbee thing. Anyway.
They market the living H out of it all summer, and then it comes out and parents freak out.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not for kids.
It was mental.
McDonald's gets in hot water. And so and so and so. Business. Warner Brothers says we got to tone this down. Tim Burton's grotesque, whatever Batman 3 would have been, which I would love one day to have a podcast where we talk about what Batman 3 would have been.
Yeah.
Because it was Billy D. Williams coming back as Two-Face, and it was just supposed to be this bizarre thing. It gets toned down. We get Batman Forever. It gets even worse when we get Batman and Robin. Point being,
DC just started whizzing it down their leg at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And they were never going to then make a dark Catwoman freak-out movie with a spaced-out Michelle Pfeiffer murdering people or whatever this weird 1995 Tim Burton Catwoman Michelle Pfeiffer movie would have been. Man, I wish we could have seen it. Or maybe not, because I was thinking about Tim Burton yesterday. And
as you are wont to do.
As I'm wont to do. And coming out of 80s, Tim Burton was legit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this was the guy that did Pee-wee. This was the guy that did Beetlejuice. This was the guy that did Batman and Batman Returns. This was the guy that did Edward Scissorhands. And then I remember one day, I think the first time we were ever allowed to go to a movie by ourselves, we went to see Mars Attacks. And that was the beginning of Tim Burton, I think, taking a real career downward slide. So maybe it would have been great. Maybe it would have been more Planet of the Apes or Mars Attacks-ish. Who knows? The point is, that's not what we got.
What we got was...
We got this.
This.
That does not compare to at all.
No, but it is...
To that Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman.
But it is an interesting movie in its own weird little world. But I'll get into that in a second. So
here's the thing, man. If your son... How old is your son? 4?
Yeah.
If he's never stubbed his toe before, or get a bee sting, and he gets a bee sting for the first time, it's going to be an interesting experience, but he still stubbed his toe, or got a bee sting. So I get what you're saying, but all right, we got to get into this. All right, so credits.
Stop delaying.
We see cats through history.
Yeah, cats are.
It segues into Catwoman through history, and then she starts off with
she's
narrative.
Floating?
She's floating in water, and she says, "The day that I died is also the day that I started to live." And I have a note here saying that this is terrible already.
Oh, I hate those. I hate those
This
movies.
eighth grade
I hate all of that
poetry.
stuff where. Well, I hate where it begins with the intro,
You don't like when they...
where they're telling you about the movie.
You don't... Do you like when a movie starts with, like, a little bit of a beginning, and then we gotta... How did we get here? And then they go back 3 months, and then we get to the point that they got there, and then it goes on from there? Do you like narrative mumbo-jumbo scrambling like that?
I just don't like the narration.
Okay, so you don't like the narration.
Where it's like, I'm telling this story, and I am a special person, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I'm just...
I don't think she narrates for the rest of the movie, though, does
No,
she?
she
She
doesn't
just
narrate.
narrates over the beginning.
Just then.
So we see her,
And then we
she
immediately
goes,
get hit with, like, clumsy, awkward...
That's what I was going to say. Bumbling girl in the city wants to be an artist. We've seen this a million times.
Yeah.
Where...
She wants to be an artist. She's working for the man.
Yeah. Well, she's working for the man, but she's got a good job.
Yeah.
It's always like this thing where it's like, yeah, she's got a good job. She's beautiful. She seems to have a pretty good supportive group of friends. Like, anytime you have one of these characters, it's like, bumbling, I can't get it together. It's like, no, it seems like you have an amazing apartment, and you're very attractive, and you have a good group of friends, and you have a great job working for this magazine.
Reason, life is against you.
But she's not an artist.
Yeah.
That's the last time we hear anything about her wanting to be an artist. Art is referred to later, and we'll get to that. Yeah, but she never says, like, oh, I want to be an artist. She gets very empowered when she becomes a Catwoman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. That's the only way that women are empowered.
Well, yeah, when they have...
when they get the spirit of the cat
when they
put
get
in them.
Cats put into them.
And then they are truly free.
Yeah, then they're free. But then she doesn't... With all this empowerment and this freedom, it never goes back to her doing something of fulfilling her dream of being an artist. Now that I think about it, wouldn't that have been interesting? If she, like, obviously that's not a superhero movie, but then she, like, uses the cat powers to, like, become some incredible, like, artist, and then she, like, breaks free from this weird magazine and is doing her own artistic thing.
And then actually changes
becomes
the world
talk
through
of the town.
culture.
Yeah, becomes, like, the talk of the town, and she becomes an up-and-coming artist, and she has all this, even as a subplot.
Because where she has to go and... To the closing lines, man, when she's good, she's good.
Yeah, when she's good,
and when
she's good.
Bad,
she's as bad as she wants to be.
Yeah.
But it would have
been
been
it doesn't matter. Art doesn't matter at this point.
No, it would have been interesting, though, to have a subplot where she kind of is still working towards the art. So we see that. Oh, boy. Then we get to her, and she's at work, and we're introduced to just an awful...
Oh, it's terrible.
Awful character of the best friend. The best friend in a very stereotypical... character where
it's stereotypical, it's the anti-beautiful hero. It's the, like...
You're talking about the best friend?
Yeah.
Where she's like, oh, you, girl, like, oh, God.
That's what I'm saying, though. She's, like, the opposite, where it's, like, they're, like, Halle Berry's all thin, she's not. Yeah. She's sassy, the other one's not.
She's sassy, that's the good word for it. She's sassy. She's annoying. Like I said, folks, I don't want this to be a podcast where we just talk crap about,
It's becoming clear that I was a lot more tolerant of this than you were.
Of the movie or this character?
Of the movie?
I think you probably were more tolerant of this movie. I don't know why, man. I was sour on this movie, but this
She's annoying.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah, no.
Like, I have a one-liner for everything character.
Well, and I was trying to...
She was terrible.
I was trying to couch everything in the fact that this is the early 2000s, and that's...
Yeah, that's true.
How life was.
That's true. You were able to accept this more than as being an early 2000s movie than you were able to accept Top Gun as being an 80s movie?
Well, mostly I just sat there and... See, I remember the 80s through nostalgia, so I was able to, like, criticize the 80s through nostalgia.
Okay, all right.
But through the 2000s, I remember it as being like, this is really terrible. And so I just sat there through the whole movie being puzzled.
So right now, they're just shooting through introducing you to characters. We meet the best friend...
Yeah.
The evil boss's wife. It's all in like 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
There's some exchange between Sharon Stone and evil boss.
She's immediately in the office getting yelled at by the evil boss.
Yeah.
Over this design campaign.
Yeah, he didn't like an ad that she did. But it turns out that she is very talented, though, so they're going to cut her a break. You know she's the best.
Yeah.
And so she has until midnight to fix it. Midnight to the next day.
Yeah.
You have till midnight. Why midnight? Are they going to press? Is he just a jerk and he's getting... Why not till Monday morning? Why not till the next morning? Why midnight? Wouldn't it just be due like at the end or beginning of a workday?
Yeah, but then at midnight, that way you wouldn't know. We wouldn't be able to see the evil plot unfold.
That's true. That's true.
So it had to be midnight. But
she is trying to...
I thought what was interesting, and I'm cutting ahead because
that's fine.
I need to cut ahead.
That's fine.
Her first decision, okay, so I'm this ad maker for this company. I have a lot of work, big, huge. This will boost my career, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She promptly just goes home and, like...
She goes to bed.
Goes to bed.
Well, maybe she's going to get up early. Maybe she's a morning worker.
Morning painting.
Well...
Because she was sitting there. She just was, like, working on painting the next day.
Well, she's an artist.
And then
you're forgetting there's people at a loud party.
Yeah.
And she's asking them to turn it down. And they're like, get out of here. And this is when we have our introduction to the cat that I can't remember the cat's name.
Midnight.
Smokey or Midnight. And she sees this cat, and the cat's just chilling out there like, hey, what's up? And she's like, looks at the cat like, can you believe these guys? And the cat's like, nah, he shakes his head. Then he runs off. They're not going to turn the music down. So we're seeing that she's meek.
Yeah.
She's weak. She doesn't stand up for herself. She's not fulfilling her dreams.
No self-confidence.
She's got no confidence. So you're right. The next morning, she's painting.
Yeah.
And then she sees the cat.
Yeah.
And the cat is out on a ledge. And she goes out on the ledge
to save the
cat who's now on a ledge
higher than
her, okay?
Yeah.
Because she just doesn't understand that how cats work.
That
if the cat got there, that the cat can...
dexterity.
Yeah, that the cat can... So she climbs out on the ledge to try to then reach 5 feet above her, that she's going to pull this cat down.
Yeah.
And hope it doesn't attack her.
Assuming the cat will not immediately spaz.
Well, yeah.
And go nuts on her arm.
So then we're introduced to the romantic lead, co-lead, whatever, Benjamin Bratt.
Who just shows up and immediately starts shouting funny witticisms.
Well, yeah, he thinks she's a jumper. As you would, because he's a cop. You had said in our little pre-talk that you were kind of sad to see that Benjamin Bratt was in this. You had forgotten?
Yeah.
And he thinks she's a jumper.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm coming out here to get a cat. And by that time, the cat's gone. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's a nice cat.
I did love those lines.
Yeah.
Only because it's like, okay, crazy lady.
Well, yeah. Like,
but at the same time, they're so forced. It was just like...
That's a nice cat. And then she looks up and she's like, well, the cat's gone. Why are you saying that? There's not a cat there. And he's like, and I'm sure you're very sad about the cat being gone. So he's like, what apartment are you in? Because she's standing on an air conditioner.
Yeah, because standing on a window-mounted air conditioner is the best decision.
And it starts to
fall out
as it would. And he's like, what apartment are you in?
Yeah.
And she's like, apartment 23. And he runs up the stairs.
Gets up there.
And catches her with his arm as she falls. And somehow is just strong enough not to just be pulled out the window himself. Yeah. As I think he would be. And he pulls her in. And the cat is in the apartment at this point. Yeah. She's like, there's that cat. And he's like, oh, there really was a cat. Okay, good. You know? And then, how long is he in her apartment for? Because this will come up later. About 2 minutes?
I don't know. He's in there. See, but she leaves him in there.
She leaves him in there. Nah, he follows her out into the hallway. He's in there for about 2 minutes is the point. That's going to come up in a few minutes. And she realizes, I'm late for work. Yeah. So she has to rush out. All right, because she, like you said, she's so far at all has not worked on the project that's due.
Oh no,
she's
the important massive project.
She's painted and tried to save a cat.
Completely redo.
And she goes, there's that cat, and he's like, oh, so you do have a cat, and she's like, well, it's not my cat. I don't know whose cat it is, and he's like, you walked out onto a rickety window ledge.
You were about to kill a stray yourself.
Cat?
Yeah.
So he's impressed by this, but
which
she's
is fortunate, as we find out later.
Yes. Then we see that George, I guess is the guy's name, of the evil businessman, and Sharon Stone, they're not a happy couple. No. She's being replaced by a younger model. She's the face of whatever cosmetic industry. Cosmetic. This is a cosmetic industry, okay? And plot point of this movie is they're releasing a new face cream that Sharon Stone has been using for years, apparently, already. Yeah. But it's supposed to be great, and they're going to relaunch this new face cream that keeps you looking young with a new model. Yep. The husband says, hey, you know what? We're going to bring in a new model.
Step down, you are reached.
Yeah, you've reached a certain age, you're too old. But then wouldn't you think that if you're selling a face cream that is supposed to keep you looking young, wouldn't your perfect model then be a 40, 45-year-old, 50 model that still looks super good because she's been using the face cream? Like, why would you
You'd
use
want
some
to play off of their
19-year-old?
insecurities.
Why would you use some 19-year-old? Oh, because it's advertising, and you
Yeah,
go, I want to
maybe.
look like the 19-year-old, so I'm going
Maybe.
to use the face cream. I don't know, but we see they're not happy, and we're
forced to sit through one of the most awkward business meetings ever.
What was this?
When they're announcing the changeover.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're setting up that this guy is the villain.
Yeah, and Sharon Stone...
Spoiler alert, he's not. He is, but he isn't. He's just kind of a jerk. But he's not the
Here's the
villain
twist.
of the movie. Well, we find out really early, don't we? They keep it a twist for Catwoman.
Yeah.
But filmmaking-wise, they do it poorly because we know right away that Sharon Stone is the bad guy.
we find out instantly at midnight when...
Yes.
When she tries to drop off the...
For what it's worth, we don't find out how just ignorant he is to all of it until later on in the movie. But it might have been a nice twist for the moviegoer to reveal that Sharon Stone is the one pulling the strings when Catwoman finds out. Like in that scene when she walks in and Sharon Stone has killed her husband.
Yeah.
That might have been a nice twist, so you're like, oh,
well, no,
it was Sharon Stone the whole time.
Yeah.
But this movie did not do that because
we need to have clear-cut enemies.
Yeah, we need to have clear-cut enemies. We're back to the office, okay? And we see that she must have dropped her wallet because the cop comes to work to see her.
Which is, I want to know, so, like, what do you have in your wallet that says you work at this place?
I mean, I assume that he went... Well, because he went back to the precinct.
Yeah.
So there must be some way that
But there's no, like, database of employees.
Yeah, you're right. There's no way. He wouldn't have known where she worked.
And if she needed an ID card, it would have been a problem getting into work in the first place.
Well, the idea of her being able to get into places with security is going to come up in about 30 seconds because there's a lot of that. Yes. He goes in to see her at work, and he looks at her portfolio.
Yeah, she has on her desk a book of her paintings.
Yes.
And for some reason, because we keep those things at work.
Yeah, well, yeah. He knows art.
And yeah, he
knows art.
He immediately starts...
this is such and such
name
early
dropping
period and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, I'm impressed. You know, you have some art knowledge. And he's very good. Because not only this, he's got some game here, folks. Because not only does he say, like, oh, this reminds me of so-and-so and so-and-so, and I like this. And this reminds me of so-and-so's. He's doing callbacks to, like, compare her art to other artists.
Yeah.
So he's pretty smart. He's pretty clever with what he's doing here. And she goes, you know art. And he goes, no, we got 2 points about this. One I came up with, one you came up with before we started recording, and I jotted down a note. He says, I just Googled the art in your office before I came over here.
Yeah.
Okay, here's why this doesn't make sense to me. One, not in the office, in her apartment.
Yeah.
One, he was only in there for about 2 minutes. And two, this is the bigger point. You would have to know something about the art to go home and just Google it. I couldn't walk into a room in a museum, look around for 2 minutes, and go home and do research on those paintings because I would have no idea who did those paintings.
This is why he's a detective, my friend.
But I would have no idea. You have to search for something.
He is a sleuth.
If I see a painting give me an artist. Leif has an art degree, so I asked him to name an artist, and he's taking him 2 minutes.
Totally blanked out.
2 minutes to come out.
Because I've been put on the spot. Van Gogh.
Okay, Van Gogh. I go into a museum, I see a Van Gogh painting. Mm-hmm. I only get about a 1 minute glimpse at it. I go home and want to do research on it. What am I searching?
Van Gogh.
But I don't know it's Van Gogh. That's my point.
But you have her wallet.
Well, so you're saying she also has art notes in her wallet?
Maybe she's one of the artists with like an early 2004 website. Maybe it's on GeoCities.
But no, he's not researching her. That's my point. He's talking about when he's looking at her art and he's like, this reminds me of Van Gogh's early period.
Well, maybe
she goes, you know Van Gogh. He goes, no, I just saw the type of paintings that you had hanging in your apartment, and I went home and researched. He saw prints of work that she likes.
No, he wouldn't have done that.
No, he saw prints. Hear me out.
Okay.
He saw prints of work that she likes, that she had hanging in her apartment, and was able to go home and research it. That's my point. You wouldn't be able to. Because if I go into a museum and I see a Van Gogh painting, I can't just immediately go home and research it because I don't know what to research because I don't know that's Van Gogh. Point stands. We've talked enough about it.
Yeah, I don't even begin.
There's nothing. There's no more you can say.
Maybe he just doodled art and then he just like merged 5 things together that sounded
Possibly.
right.
Or he just like was like painting of sunflower vase. And then that came up and he's like, okay, that's who did the sunflowers. Oh yeah, that one was there too.
Yeah.
All right, we did it, folks.
I'm glad that
we made this movie made sense. Now the thing that you had about this was Google.
And this is what I was confused about because I am not the notator, you are.
Yes.
But I had thought he said I doodled it.
He did.
And I thought in 2004, and maybe I'm just mistaken, but I didn't think people were saying I doodled something yet.
So our question is, now Google existed in 2004,
yes.
correct?
Yeah, Google existed.
But the concept of like, just Google it.
Like,
you don't think that existed as a term in culture?
I mean, it had to have, obviously, if he used it.
But that's what I'm asking you. Did that phrase come from this movie? Did the movie Catwoman come up with the phrase, I Googled
Catwoman changing our culture?
I think Catwoman has had a very serious impact on our culture. So he asked her on a date.
You can talk more about Catwoman on our new website, iHeartCatwoman.org.
.org, yeah. We've already put the money into one.com this month, and we're not doing it for 2.
Getting a little cheaper.
So we did a .net. So she goes home and finally decides, hey, I better work on this project. And she gets it done. She's working late at the office.
Yeah.
And she calls up somebody, and she's like, hey, I need the messenger to come and get this and take it to somewhere.
Yeah.
And, whoever on the other phone is like, oh, the messenger's gone. Or what do you mean the messenger's gone? Oh, it's 11 o'clock at night. I mean, do you think there's a kid that just sits around waiting? So she's like, oh, I got to have this. I have to have this to someplace by midnight. This is what I don't understand. She has to take it to another building? Like,
apparently,
wouldn't it just be in the office building that she
has
works
to go
in?
to,
Like their headquarters?
The Evil Corp headquarters.
Yeah, but they're at the office, so why wouldn't you... She has to go to a weird lab.
Yeah, it's like
somehow
a lab
she knows about this building. I don't know why you would be turning in the artwork
to the lab.
To the lab. Why they
/ shipping department.
That's the art department. Yeah, / warehouse / shipping. She has to go to a secondary location at midnight because of the movie has to happen. Whereas in real life, that there would just be an office down the hall.
You would inter-office
or
this thing.
She would just go put it in somebody's mailbox. Yeah. Because the guy was a jerk and he made it due at midnight, but he's not going to see it till the next morning anyway. Who's going to see it
unless
at midnight?
You were taking it to his house? But they didn't go to his house. They went to a secret lab.
So she goes to a lab, which is an awful, awful looking CGI building.
Yeah,
which just terrible, like video game 2002 level cutscene.
Mm-hmm. You were walking into a Duke Nukem building.
Oh, and she's taking the art there, and we see inside that building, there's a scientist. This scientist cracked me up. He's having a meeting with Sharon Stone. He wants to pull the plug because it's turning women ugly. Now, there's a whole thing where he's like, I didn't mind when we found out it was addictive. Yeah. I didn't mind when we realized it was destroying people's kidneys. Yeah. I didn't mind. But this, and they show a picture of a girl who has some scarring on her cheek.
Yeah, but now it's mutilating their faces.
She's got shows a picture of a model with some scarring on her cheek. And he's like, we can't have this. This is making hot chicks ugly.
I will not abide a world of disfigured women.
I will not stand by while hot chicks are turned into dogs. We'll destroy their kidneys all day long. Yeah. But not those beautiful faces. And Sharon Stone's like, no, man, that's why they're going to do it, because it's addictive, and this is how we make the money.
And if
that's how the donuts are made.
The gist is, too, if you just don't stop. If you stop, your face turns that way.
Yeah, if you stop, your face turns that way.
So you have to keep on going.
So we have to keep this under wraps, because this will never come out when eventually people all start having disfigured faces. Like
evil Prindle core. Like, once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah, but people would find out real quick, because people would stop as they start turning into disfigured monsters. Or does it work so well? The whole point of this movie is that it's a cover-up about this makeup.
Yeah.
And the makeup, if you stop, it turns you into a disfigured monster. If you keep on using it, it gives you superpowers.
Yeah, so it turns your face into stone.
Stone, yeah. So eventually a lot of people are going to find out, and it's going to link back. But... okay, whatever. So, she oversees this.
Yeah.
Or she overhears it.
Yeah,
She has to. No, she must just overhear it.
She
Because
starts
she doesn't
to overhear
know.
it.
Okay, because she doesn't know Sharon Stone is the bad guy.
She just sees the scientist die.
Okay.
And then immediately, because she's awkward and bumbling, she knocks over. And then, in this highly secure facility that she just opened a door to...
Yeah, that she was able just to walk right into the first time, to go in.
Immediately did, like...
There's a whole SWAT team of security.
A crack team of... Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole SWAT team of security. And I made a note about that. She makes a noise, they call security. Where was security when she just walked into that building? So they're chasing her and they're trying to kill her.
And yelling for people.
Yeah. And why is she delivering the artwork to the lab? Please, Catwoman. Why?
Maybe the lab was also had to sign off on the artwork.
Possibly. So she crawls into a big pipe because at this point and the action scenes in this,
she slides
as we'll talk about,
down
are terrible.
This thing.
They're chasing her and they're shooting at her. And one guy tries to shoot her, and the guy's like, "Don't do that! Don't do that, man!" And then he tries. Then they get a call. Yeah. They're like, "What do you want us to do?" And you hear Sharon Stone's voice. You got to kill her. I don't even think Sharon Stone knows who it is because Sharon Stone at the end is.
She didn't know.
She didn't know that she killed him. And obviously nobody acts surprised when she shows up at work the next day, so she doesn't know that that's who's there. They don't see each other. She goes into a pipe, and they literally flush her out. Yeah. I almost like this little scene. One, why are these pipes so huge? What are these huge pipes? I don't know. They're these huge human-sized pipes,
man.
They're movie pipes.
Yeah.
Just like movie air ventilation systems, they're big enough for humans because it's a movie. Yeah. But this scene, like, I kind of put myself in her shoes for this briefly. And if you were running frantically through this maze of pipes, hearing water coming, that would freak you out.
Oh, yeah. You would be slipping
and, so that's fine. So she gets flushed out
blasted out of the thing into the river?
Into the river or whatever. Yeah, okay, so what happens next?
Floats around.
Yeah, this is where we're now caught up to the part where she's...
floating in
introducing herself at the beginning of the movie.
And then she ends up on, like, the rocky...
Well, we see a cutaway to Midnight.
Yeah.
Is that cat's name, Midnight?
Yeah.
I keep on wanting to call it Smokey. Smokey! So we see Midnight, and Midnight's like, whoa! Midnight knows she's in trouble. So, do they drag her out of the water, or does she just wash up on shore? Because it cuts to her, and she's just all muddy.
Yeah, she's like all covered in gunk.
And then...
like, the cats, the secret order of cats shows up.
Yeah, creepy CGI cat gives her mouth to mouth with this weird point of view shot of like the cat leaning in and opening its mouth and breath coming out.
Well, yeah, it's almost like I was having flashbacks to what was the Stephen King, the cat's paw, cat's eye.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like the cat will steal your breath.
Yeah. Man,
except this was
great. Can we talk about that for a while instead? Isn't that the one where there's the monster in the wall and no one believes the kid, and the other one where the guy has to quit smoking? Oh, another one where the guy has to go around the ledge to win a bet.
Yeah.
Can we just stop this right now? Go watch Cat's Paw and then come back and talk about Cat's Paw. Folks, we'll see you in 2.5 hours. We're back. We just watched Cat's Paw. So, this is again done much better in Batman Returns when she falls through all the window awnings and hits the ground. And they kind of do the thing where they're like walking around her and turning her head, and another cat standing on her chest. And it's a weird, eerie, Tim Burton-y thing, but it's done much better. This is just CGI cats.
It was like trying to be mystical, but it was mostly just like...
But why were the cats CGI? Were they? I understand the cat, like you need the close-up of its mouth opening. But then her eye turns into a cat eye. Yeah. It opens wide, and I was like, does she have cat eyes in the rest of this? No, her cat eye go back to normal. And now, all of a sudden, she has... The cats, they scram. Because she hasn't woken up yet. And I think, like, the smart cats they are, they realize that there's 20 of them around a dead body. And they're like, we gotta get out of here.
So we don't go to cat jail?
Yeah, we didn't do anything. We have nothing to do with this. Leave her. Don't touch her. Yeah. We're out of here, dude.
Midnight. We're out, man.
So, then all of a sudden she wakes up and she immediately, like, has cat powers. Like, telescoping vision. Yeah. Because she sees birds and then can zoom in on the bird.
Zooming in on some spider she's trying to get to.
Do cats can their eyes zoom in on stuff?
I'm pretty sure they can't.
I don't think they can. There's a lot. This is the first example of many times when I'm like, can cats? Is that a power that a cat would have?
I'm pretty sure that that's not a power cats have.
Yeah, like I don't think they can like look at a bird up in the sky and go whoop 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 and magnify it until they're like right up at the bird.
Of course, I don't know. Has any one of us been a cat? Maybe they do.
I have not been a cat.
Yeah.
Not that I know of. I mean, we don't want to get into religion on this podcast, so I'll leave it at that.
Your only option of, according to the movie, your only option of being a cat is to be a woman.
Yeah.
So, we'll never know.
The reverse sexism in this movie makes me sick. So, where's Catman at?
Leave messages at Fastback.
Yeah, so she goes home.
Yeah.
And for some reason, she's in her alley, and she looks up and she sees her thing. And she just jumps
and does her thing
200 feet to her balcony because she can.
Cat power.
Why does she try this? Because she can. How does she know to even try this? Or is she just like in her weird state? Is she in a weird
state of mind?
Okay,
because that's what
she's in a trance.
Later on, and I'm jumping ahead, but to justify this, when she freaks out on the boss the next day.
Oh, okay.
And then she's talking to her friend. She's like, something just happens to me, and it's like I'm watching myself do it.
All right. So that's why she just didn't walk through her front door and go upstairs and just go into her apartment. She decided instead to jump up on the balcony. She wakes up the next morning. She's perfectly clean, even though the scene before when she fell asleep, she was covered in mud.
Well, cats lick themselves clean.
Does she do that in this movie? Because she does everything. We're going to talk a lot about this because this is when I start to become more and more disgusted with this movie. Michelle Pfeiffer does have a scene where she's like licking herself, but it's highly sexual. And again, why Batman Returns was not a movie for kids.
Yeah.
But she does. There's so many points to this where she does cat things. Okay,
no,
so
she doesn't. Not. But
so the cop calls. He stood up on the. They were supposed to meet for breakfast, but he stood up, and the stray cat comes back around, and she's looking at her collar. And she finds a little, like, pirate ship type message for an address. Instead of it just being on, like, a tag on the collar. For some reason, it's folded up like a secret spy message that's in a little bead on there.
Why not?
And she goes not to work because I don't know why she doesn't go to work. She didn't deliver the thing. She's not thinking about work at this point.
No.
She goes to see this cat lady.
Yeah.
Okay, Catwoman goes to see the cat lady, and this is a very strange lady. And at this point, and I'm going to let you take it after this. At this point, I paused to see how much time is left in this movie. This is the first update I have on this, because I kept on doing this. An hour and 15 minutes. Because you go on Netflix, you can pause, and you see how long you've watched it and how much.
Yeah.
I'm not making this up. I paused at this point, and I was like, how much of this is left? Hour and 15 minutes.
I did that at 40 minutes left. Okay, I don't know what 40 minutes was. But...
All right. You did it at 40 minutes left.
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, I'm pausing to see how much is left. An hour and 15, and I go, okay.
Yeah,
and I go, maybe it'll get better. It doesn't, because the cat lady. What does she do to test her? Don't get this confused with the secondary Catwoman scene where she learns about the history of Catwoman from this lady.
No.
This is initial, and what does she do?
Shoot, I don't remember.
She throws a ball of catnip that Halle Berry starts rubbing all over her face. Yeah, she's rubbing all over her face like a maniac.
Like, there we go, man.
Remember when we would say it? Remember we would, for a while, we would do this thing where we were stupid kids, and at a fast food restaurant, you would love to do nothing more but aggressively and furiously, like a maniac, wipe your face off with a napkin, and people would look at you and be like... wonder what was wrong with you.
Because of mental problems.
Which was the correct.
Yeah.
Even though there was nothing wrong with you.
Well, I think
there was, because we were furiously rubbing our faces
out. Safe to say
with
that there was probably something going on in our heads at the time.
So anyway.
But yeah, we were
dumb kids.
I want to say now, to justify that, I was just mimicking Catwoman.
This was awful. If you haven't seen it, she's like rubbing it's like a hacky sack filled with catnip. And she's like rubbing her face on it and rubbing it on her neck. And the lady comes.
I mean, it's not like adding to the film. It's not doing anything to the film. It's not even like adding like sexiness to the film.
It's definitely not. I don't think it was meant to be sexy. I think it was meant to be like she likes catnip. Because the lady even comes and she takes it out of her hands and she looks at it and she goes, catnip.
Yeah.
And Halle Berry's like, oh, I'm out of here. And it's like, okay.
Well, and then we have the really awkward walk to work where she's like, should I go back? Should I go back?
Yeah.
Should I go back?
And I have her, this is so dumb. And so she gets back to work and she's like kind of like sleepy and she's kind of like slumped up against her desk.
Yeah.
And the boss starts chewing her out.
Just yelling at her.
And he's like, where's those designs? And at this point I go, oh, does he not know that? Because this is when it's still confusing of how much he knows.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, he must not know that they tried to kill her last night. Like, if he knows that she should be dead, isn't he more freaked out? What's she doing?
Yeah,
she's supposed to be dead. What's going on? I thought she was dead.
Nah.
So he doesn't know anything. So she tells him off.
Yeah.
And, has like her big, like, the only thing I'm sorry for is working for a pompous egomaniac for 10 years and wasting my talent. Working for a bum like you.
Blah, blah, blah.
And then he's like,
take this job and shove it.
Yeah, he's like, okay. He's like, you're fired. And then she's like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And we're alternating in between, like, super confident and super, like, panicky.
And then they all clap. They all clap.
The whole office claps.
Yeah, they all clap because nobody would. Everyone would be sitting there trying to look out. One, in real world, everyone would be awkwardly just looking down, not trying to make eye contact with her or the boss. No one's going to clap because you don't want to get pulled into the office and be like, are you happy here? Is there something that we need to talk about?
Yeah,
no, I'm fine
with
here.
HR.
Yeah, you'd be meeting with somebody because you clapped. And everyone would just be like, thanks a lot, Jimmy. Now Bob is going to be in a crap mood for the next 2 days. You know what I mean? Like, in real life, maybe like afterwards they'd be like, that was awesome. Someone needed to say it.
Yeah.
But in real life, everyone is quietly looking at their
amongst
desks.
Themselves. They will definitely be like, ha!
It'd be like when you were a little kid or your brother and sister were getting chewed out. You would just look down because you don't want to catch wind of it either. You just kind of look down. I'm not going to.
Well, I remember.
Do you have a problem? No.
I remember times in school where it was just like one kid gets in trouble and you're just sitting there in the classroom thinking, I want to laugh at him, but
you don't want to catch. You don't want to catch the teacher's eye.
I'm jumping in this too, and I don't.
Yeah, you're jumping in it too. Yeah. You're part of it, so everyone just kind of looks down. So. She gets applauded by coworkers, but she packs up her stuff, and now they're walking down the street, and her friend is walking with her. Because if me and you worked at a job as best friends as we are, and you just chewed out the boss and got justifiably fired, I would have to be like, all right, dude, I guess I'll see you after work. I'm not going to walk out with you because it looks like I'm quitting too. So she walks out with her, and then we get another example of it.
Unless, of course, to tie this together, she Jerry Maguired it, and was like, who's coming with me?
Oh, maybe she did.
And to bring this back into Tom Cruise land.
This is a podcast about Tom Cruise.
There.
It took us 9 episodes. It took us 9 episodes to realize
to find out that
this was a closeted Tom Cruise podcast. And now
we are secretly. It was. I feel much better.
Folks, this is a Tom Cruise podcast. We both feel much better about this. Next week, we'll be talking about Risky Business. The week after that, we'll be talking about Days of Thunder. The week after that, we'll be doing Rain Man.
Was he in that really, like... What was the movie, the military school?
And Taps? I never saw Taps. But he was also in A Few Good Men. And he was also in a movie that we enjoyed and hated at the same time, Vanilla Sky.
Yeah.
This is a Tom Cruise podcast. Well, okay. So anyway, moving on. They walk down the street and dogs come by and she hisses.
Yeah.
And this is the first thing of what I start to hate more and more about this movie is it's like, oh, that's what cats do. They like catnip. They like milk.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, cats hiss at dogs. So she hisses at a dog and the friend's like, what's that about? And she's like, oh, I got allergies. And, she sees a diamond necklace and that catches her eye.
Immediately is like, ooh, shiny.
Yeah, shiny. And the friend's like, yeah, you just quit your job, which I don't think she would afford that necklace even if she had a job.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, that's not even the first question I would say. Like, you just quit your job. I was like,
yeah, why are you
never even been able to.
Yeah. And then in the background, the friend just passes out. And is that the end of that scene?
Pretty much. Then they're in the hospital.
Oh, yeah, they go to the hospital, and she's like, my doctor's sexy.
Yeah.
Ha-ha. like she's like a real vaudeville type. Like,
oh yeah, va-va-va-voom.
Yeah, she really is.
And then this is what's confusing. So then Halle Berry, then Catwoman, Patience, whatever, goes off to visit Benjamin Bratt.
Yeah, that's what I have. He's like talking to a class, and I don't know if he's doing like a cop, like, kids, we're going to stay off drugs. Like when Dare would come in and talk to us or whatever. And
he's doing a kindergarten cop.
Yeah. And then she finds him somehow.
Yeah.
And I guess dialogue explains later, because when she finds him, I'm like, how does she know? I'm like, is he a coach? Because he has a basketball, which we're going to get to. And he's like, all right, let's play some hoops. And I'm thinking, well, how did she find him? But then they put in a little line of dialogue where she's like, I called the precinct and they said you might be here. And it's like, I guess even the filmmakers knew, like, we're going to have to explain why she found him at this basketball coaching
Also, because that's what you can do. Like, you can just...
I think so. Where's Detective McCluskey? Oh, Detective McCluskey is probably at his doctor's appointment. Thank you. Where's that at?
Post 9/11, New York.
Oh, yeah.
You can call...
Oh, this is post.
Yeah. You can call up the police station and be like, I need to know where Officer so-and-so is right now.
Maybe if you're a foxy-looking lady.
Over the phone?
Like, well, I don't know. Well, maybe because he might say that he's been telling his friends about her, so maybe he was telling his friends about her. But they say he doesn't have a partner. Yeah. He's better at working alone. So he's talking to a class full of kids, and he goes, now it's time to shoot some hoops. And then I start to think, well, maybe he's a coach. They have a little talk before they start playing, as they're walking to the basketball court, about how he's too serious to have a partner. Because I guess his partners are like, you're too serious, Officer Benjamin Bratt. We like to hang loose.
Yeah, you play by the rules.
You play by the rules too much. And she's like, oh, people say I'm too serious too. And it's like, okay. So they're bonding.
Yeah.
And then this movie, and I have a note right here, and this movie just got dumber. One kid challenges them to have a one-on-one basketball game with each other. And I don't know if that's a thing, to challenge, hey, you two, play basketball for our amusement. And then Benjamin Bratt's like, I don't know. And she's like, I haven't played basketball in years. And so, is this the worst part of this entire movie?
This is definitely a low point.
Not only in the content, but in, like, execution. Because it's all a ton of weird, like, jump cuts.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not really playing basketball. I think neither one of these people know how to play basketball. I was getting sick.
Yeah, I needed to take, like, a Dramamine or something.
Yeah, because it's like cuts, and it's just dribbling, and nobody's moving around each other. They're moving around each other a little bit. I think they had to cut around the fact that neither one of them could play basketball. Because nobody takes a shot. Yeah. Nobody does any kind of footwork. It's just, and then he hugs her. Yeah, and then he looks at her butt. And then she gets in front of him and leans back into him.
And it's awkward. And that's the thing. What would have been probably a terrible, like, attempt at being lusty, sexy, just turned into awkward and...
Well, she's a beautiful, beautiful woman. I mean, that goes without saying, but none of this is ever sexy.
It's just
always awkward and just kind of uncomfortable. And then I said, did they ever shoot the ball? And she has cat powers, so she's able to dunk. I say, oh, she has cat powers. Cats must be able to dunk basketballs. Because she jumps like 8 feet up in the air. Yeah. And like dunks over him and lands on top of him. And no one seems to think that this is odd.
Well, remember the first scene when she gets the ball and she like runs up a wall.
Yeah, she runs up a wall and she says, I haven't done that since I was a kid.
Does this like kick jump off the wall.
Yeah, she does a somersault off the wall.
And it's
and everyone's just like, ooh.
Like this happens every day and they're able to like rake this.
So it's awful. The scene is awful. And then it goes into Sharon Stone again. Sharon Stone is a woman scorned. She sees her husband getting into a limousine with like a young model. And husband assistant comes in and goes, husband has to work late tonight. And she's like, if you mean by work late, he's going to be at the Four Seasons with, Jeannie. Whatever. She knows her husband's cheating on her, whatever. Oh, yeah. And she sees that, and she breaks a glass in her hands. She's having a drink. Yeah. She breaks the glass in her hands, and we see that it doesn't cut her at all.
Okay.
So we see that she must have some kind of power.
It just dawned on me that because when I saw that scene, I thought she breaks the glass, and it's just like nothing happens. And I'm thinking to myself, why did I just witness this? Like, oh, big deal.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
now I'm thinking, Stone
They're showing you that she has mad powers. And then we cut to Halle Berry. And Halle Berry is laying on bed, disgustingly eating like 6 cans of jumbo tuna. There's just nothing sexy about this movie.
Because
and
she
again,
loves... She's a cat, so
yeah, because cats like tuna.
Would definitely open up...
It's like they had a checklist. And they're like, what do cats like? They like playing with string. They walk on furniture. Cats like tuna, right? Yeah, cats like tuna. Put it on there. Like a whiteboard meeting.
Yeah.
Of like, what do cats... They like shiny things. We got to put something in there with shiny. Well, you know what cats don't like? They don't like dogs. Oh, yeah, that's good. We should have somebody walking a dog and she hisses at the dog. It just... They beat you over the head with it. And it's never done in a clever way.
Oh, no.
She's just laying on a bed licking out tuna cans. It's gross.
It's pretty unappealing.
It's just unappealing. And so her friend calls her up from the hospital, and then she starts walking on the furniture and turning around and rubbing against walls.
Because this is 2004.
Yes.
She calls her up from the hospital.
Yes.
She's on the phone at the nurse's station?
Yeah, she's at the nurse's station, and no one seems to care. And the nurse just comes up.
Don't they have phones in the rooms?
Yeah, it's weird. I saw that too, where she's like just kind of... She has her run of the hospital. Yeah. She's just out in a gown.
Yeah.
And she's just out just talking at the nurse's station, and the nurse comes up and puts her hand on her hip, and she's like, all right, 1 minute, finishes her phone call.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, she just has a run of the hospital because she's sassy and she does what she wants. She's Leif, she's a sassy character, and I really wish that you would stop questioning these female characters who are empowered with your sexism. Please.
I'm just questioning the validity of using a nurse station's phone.
You do. I like how you defend yourself on a podcast that literally 3 people are listening to.
I just want it to be known that...
Yeah, he just wants it to be known. He's talking about the phone. So then there's a loud party again. She has a whole heart-to-heart with about, like, you know, what should I do about this cop guy?
Meanwhile, she's hopping around on the furniture.
Yeah, she's walking around on furniture, and she's balancing on stuff, and she's, like, rubbing her head on stuff. She's a cat. Example number 700 of her doing dumb cat stuff because she's a cat. So there's I'll let you take the party scene. There's a loud party again. She's trying to get sleep.
This time, the cat in her...
Yes.
Freaks out.
Yeah.
Goes over there.
Well, she asks him to be quiet first, and they give her, like, the finger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Through the thing. Yeah. So then she goes and she knocks on the door.
I keep on trying to, like, move the movie along, and you keep on trying to, like, fill the scenes. I'm deliberately skipping.
I can tell who people are rooting for in this podcast, and it's not me.
No, so, like, she's over there, and immediately is like, you need to turn this down, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, no.
Yeah, he's like,
you're in pajamas.
You're in your pajamas, but I'll make an exception. Come on in.
Yeah.
And she says, no, thank you. And he shuts the door.
And then she kicks it open.
She kicks the door down because cats are, I guess, super strong. No.
And then immediately turns back into, like, awkward patience and is like, oh, no. But then, like, breaks through that.
Yeah, she breaks through it a little bit because she hops up on the bar because they have a bar in their apartment. I guess you would.
And sprays seltzer water into the
speakers. Yeah, she's spraying seltzer water into the speakers. And then she, like, sprays seltzer water, like, on his face.
That the force of the seltzer water must have been intense because...
It knocks him down, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, you freak. And then she's like... She jumps on him and she beats him up a little bit because at that point she's destroyed 2 probably $700 each speakers. Yeah, and so, of course, they go after her. She jumps on him. She roughs him up a little bit. And then she's like, thanks for the party. I had fun.
Yeah, and then...
But she doesn't, she's trying to be tough. But she's not tough. And that's the thing about this, is Michelle Pfeiffer, who, I don't have a problem with Halle Berry, but Michelle Pfeiffer I think is a better actress. When Michelle Pfeiffer was trying to be tough, she was tough. When she was trying to be tortured, she was tortured. When she was trying to be sexy, she was sexy. Halle Berry is none of these things. When she tries to be tough, it doesn't come off as tough. When she tries to be sexy, like we said, it comes off as awkward. It's just not a great performance.
But then she ends up back at her place.
She breaks through. This is the transformation scene. Which, again, not to keep going back to Batman Returns, because we're having a hard enough time getting through one movie. But the Selena Kyle going back to her apartment after being murdered by Shrek and just trashing her apartment and making that leather outfit is an incredible scene.
Yeah.
This is not.
No. This is, she pulls out the box that's marked in case of a dating emergency.
Oh, does it say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does say that.
All right.
And it's this leather cat suit thingy.
Yeah, it's already like a weird leather, just trashy looking suit.
So, like, that's what I was wondering the whole time. I was like, so your dating emergency is when you need to go to, like, the bondage club?
I guess so. And then, like, she goes down and she steals a motorcycle. And at first I was like, where does she get a motorcycle from? But they must have realized that as well, because...
You hear some voice off camera. Hey, that's my bike.
Yeah, I wrote that. Hey, that's my bike.
Best actor of the movie.
Yes, that's my bike. That I just happened to be standing out on a street corner and watching at 2 a.m. to make sure anybody gets on it. Like,
and now what I noticed immediately is she got on the bike, started it up, drove off.
Yeah.
Next scene, she has that cool little Catwoman helmet on.
She didn't get the Catwoman helmet yet. She has it in that scene?
No, not the Catwoman. Sorry, she has like a precursor to the Catwoman helmet.
Oh, I just love the fact that at some point in the production of this movie, they were watching it and saying, where did she get a bike from?
Yeah.
She never had a motorcycle. Oh, hold on a second. Ricky, can you come in here? Yeah, no, yeah. Thank you for making the coffee. We just need you to yell, hey, that's my bike. Thank you. Just yell it from the other room. You don't need to come in here. He's supposed to be off on the corner anyway. Thank you, Ricky. So she's racing through the streets, and she's going to go... Oh, my God. We're not even... We got... I'm looking through my notes. We got a lot of this movie left.
Okay, well I'm broad brushing this.
That's not what we do here, man. She goes to steal that necklace, and there's already robbers there.
Yeah.
They shoot at her for like 5 minutes, just unload shotguns on her.
Oh yeah.
Even though she's clearly moved. And I have a note in here.
And shooting a shotgun, you would notice if what you're shooting at had moved.
Which it did right away.
Yeah.
There's a lot of instances in this movie where people give her some kind of cover to escape from. Be it shotgun smoke or fire extinguisher
stuff. There was a lot of smoke coming from those shotguns.
We're going to let this woman get away. So she fights them. I thought this was okay. I kind of liked her running around the walls. Yeah. And kind of flipping over and stuff. I thought that this was all right. And I'm thinking to myself...
See, that's like good cat type thing.
Because it's kind of cool. Like, it was a 2-layer thing. She's up on the balcony. She's on the railing.
Weird little cat
She's kind of just doing this cat thing and flipping around. And I go... Okay, this is all right. No, it's not, because she surfs a guy into a wall.
Which was awesome.
Can you explain how she surfs a guy into a wall? Doesn't she just run up and jump on him with such a force that it knocks...
jumps and...
Yeah, she runs.
Something about his clothes made them extra...
And they slide a good 30 feet?
Yeah.
40 feet?
Oh, yeah.
With enough force to when he hits the wall at the other end of the room, it knocks him out.
Yeah, he's in serious condition after that head to the wall.
So, and she steals a bunch of stuff.
Well, that's the thing. We think like she's good because she's preventing the crime, but then she just is like steals all of.
See, I think she was on. I took it in the impression that she was on her way to steal that stuff, and those guys happened to also be stealing at the same place.
Okay.
Because she's there to get that necklace.
Makes sense.
And I say, why? Why is she stealing stuff? Did Michelle Pfeiffer? And again, because we're talking about the Catwoman now, you can maybe say, why does he keep? It's a different movie, Justin. Stop talking about Michelle Pfeiffer. No, it's not, because we were establishing later in the movie that this is a cat power that women get passed on throughout history. Yes. So why is she stealing stuff? Are cats known for stealing? This is a legitimate question. Are cats known for sneaking your socks away, or I don't know.
They kind of take stuff, I think.
Okay, so that's...
I mean, but I don't know if they like... I don't think they like take it and do anything with it other than play with it.
So she steals. Yeah. I don't remember Michelle Pfeiffer stealing anything. I remember her being at... She
stole my heart.
She stole my 12-year-old heart as well. I remember her being at Shrek's department store, and she breaks in on the security guards, but she's just there to blow up the department store. She's destructive. Yeah. She's a criminal.
Well, that's the thing about her, Catwoman. She's like evil and good.
Yeah. She's as bad as she wants to be, which was also the name of Dennis Rodman's autobiography.
Oh, is Dennis Rodman a Catwoman?
Dennis Rodman might be a Catwoman. He's good at basketball.
Mm-hmm.
He wears crazy clothes.
Yeah.
He does drive a motorcycle. He's as bad as he wants to be.
Yeah.
Oh, Dennis Rodman is a Catwoman.
Okay.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks.
And he does absurd things like go to North Korea.
Yeah. That's something a Catwoman would do.
Yeah.
So I take back the fact that we said this was sexist for not having a Catman. It does.
Maybe it's just you have to be okay with the feminine spirit?
Yeah. Which he is. Yeah. Because he would wear drag a lot. Remember when he had his book signing, he showed up in drag?
Oh, yeah.
Dennis Rodman is a Catwoman.
Okay. This is making more sense.
So she wakes up the next morning. Does she remember doing this? Because, again, it doesn't seem like she does. And then you cleared that up for me earlier that she is kind of watching herself do things. So Benjamin Bratt is on the case of this jewelry store.
Yep.
But it turns out, don't worry about it because she returned them. Some detective decided to do the very important detective thing of walking into the next room.
Yeah.
And they just find the bag of jewels with the word sorry written on it. And then cupcakes.
Yep.
Case closed.
Boom.
She returned them. And this is where we get to your favorite part. So she must not have known that she stole them at this point. Well, she knows that she stole them, but she must not have meant to.
Yeah, she woke up with the bed full of them.
Yeah, because she's like, what is this? But she seems surprised. So maybe it's almost like a drunk type thing where she wakes up the next day.
She just goes on benders.
She just goes on Catwoman benders. So we're getting to your favorite part of the movie. Where she Google searches for Catwoman. So why don't you take this?
Yeah, so then we're introduced to the second best actor of the film, the internet.
Yes.
Who gave Benjamin Bratt his mojo from before. Okay, so she's immediately thinks, well, this strange stuff is happening to me. I'm going to Google it. Which is what I do when I have strange things happening to me.
Well, does she Google cats?
Yeah, she Googles cat.space woman.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't even see what she Googled. I was typing and I was trying to pay attention to it as much as I could.
Yeah, no, it was that.
The search engine looked weird because it came up with different boxes and you just clicked on the box.
Well, this is early Google.
And I was like, what is this?
Early Google, man.
Was that what it was?
It was the
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, this is...
But then it just was hyperlinks. So did you click on a box and then that took you to hyperlinks back in the day?
No, because you clicked on the box, you clicked on the thing and it would take you to the link. Maybe it was Yahoo. I'm going to have to go back and look at this. Maybe that's how it is. You're bad. You use Yahoo.
Yeah, because only police had access to Googling at that point.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah.
So she Googles cat history, and she sees lots of pictures of cats and lots of paintings of cats.
Yeah.
And there's one cat particular that's always on the scene.
Yep, Old Midnight.
Old Midnight. Now, is it just that type of cat that came from Egypt, or are the movie leading us to believe that this cat Midnight has been around for thousands of years, giving people cat powers?
Yeah, this cat transcends time.
You think that's what it is?
Yeah.
You don't think it's just the breed of cat? You think Midnight the cat has been traveling through time,
giving people...
Oh my God, I have another show to produce. Coming this fall on CBS after Goose's Dog Tags. Midnight the cat travels through history, giving people cat powers when they need them most. And this
Angela Lansbury as the cat lady.
Yeah. Who has to explain in every episode as someone shows up to her doorstep.
The keeper.
The keeper? Yeah, and Angela Lansbury as the keeper.
Of the cat. No, not Flame.
And this Christmas, a very special crossover between Goose's Dog Tags and Smokey the cat.
Oh, so they would have to Midnight, and they would have to team up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. Why are we wasting our time podcasting when we should be creating the things that people are podcasting about?
Immediately, well, we'd have to be in the 80s for these shows to exist.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So Midnight is the key. She goes back and talks to the cat lady, and she's like, hey, I saw this cat. And the cat lady says, I knew you'd be back. And the cat lady says, I knew you would be back. I could see it in your eyes, and Midnight knew too. And she sits down and she shows her this book that she self-published about cat history. And by self-published, I mean I think she just put a scrapbook together. And I love this part because she was a professor. She's a professor for 20 years, but she was denied tenure due to politics and sexism, basically. And I don't mean to make light of that, but I had to laugh because she was denied tenure due to the male elite at the school. Not because she wrote a big book about magical cats that bring you back to life and give you cat powers. Probably had nothing to do with that. Had everything to do with sexism.
I think, hey, colleges these days they let you make any class you want.
So you think it was sexism that she didn't get tenure?
I think it was a combination of everything.
Really putting you on the spot here, Leif. Once again, you can reach Leif and just tell him how disgusted you are with him, with all the things he's been saying in this podcast. You can fastbackpodcast@gmail.com, at fastbackpodcast on Twitter.
Subject line.
Yeah, just really let him know. I've been trying to get through to him for years, and that's another secret reason why I've started this podcast, to really try to enlighten him to the ways of Catwoman and Tom Cruise and just all the things that he's been missing in life. So we find out that Midnight chose Halle Berry.
Yeah.
Midnight was stalking her. He was scoping her out. And he's
that was the test.
This lady should be a Catwoman. Not like some policewoman or somebody who really is, is strong and brave. This dawdling art school dropout secretary is who we pick for Catwoman. So maybe it's more about your spirit. Maybe it's more about your potential.
Yeah. But
maybe when you need to be the Catwoman.
You only become free when you are the Catwoman.
Oh, so Midnight is freeing people.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So he chose her because she needed to be freed.
Yeah.
All right. So we see many Catwomen, and the cat lady is laying down the law, and Halle Berry doesn't want to hear it because she's freaked out by this, and then she pushes her off of a railing, and she falls about 4 feet and lands on her feet. And this is what surprises her. This is what wakes her up to oh man, not to being able to jump 80 stories to get to her apartment building.
Not the weird running around
and surfing in guys and stuff like that. Falling off of a 5-foot railing and landing on her feet. She goes, oh man. And the lady's like, you're not the only one. She throws down all these pictures. Did you see what one of them was?
Mm-mm.
You didn't notice this?
I missed it.
One of the pictures is Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman.
Ah.
So it's tied together. So we know that this is all in the same.
So is she still a Catwoman now, or is she dead? Because
I would assume that she's still somewhere out there being a Catwoman.
Is the Catwoman passed down?
There was nothing in this to say that there could only be one Catwoman at a time.
This is true.
And now, to make sure that they really stayed in continuity, I want to go back and watch Batman Returns and see if Midnight is in that scene. Because if he's not, I have some letters to write. I have some letters to write about this.
You're going to be reaching out to.
Yeah, I have to go to a couple conventions. If in Catwoman, Midnight is the special cat that gives him powers, why is Midnight not in the scene in Batman Returns when Michelle Pfeiffer is brought back to life? Why do you remember either of these movies? And this is a Star Wars panel, sir. I just had to ask somebody, all right? So
there's a restraining order against me in DC.
Yeah. So she's bestowed the helmet.
Yeah.
And she says, "This is for you.
Yep. There we go.
You're Catwoman now. Deal with it. This is what you got to do." So I have in my next note, she needs to find out who killed her. Oh yeah. Did she forget that somebody tried to kill her? I did. At this point, I had completely forgotten about that plot point that someone tried to kill her. And completely, it didn't cross my mind of the concept is, does she remember somebody tried to kill her? She doesn't remember that somebody tried to kill her. She just woke up in bed that next day. Because you'd think you'd be trying to get to the bottom of that. Like, hey, I'm going to the cops. I happen to be really good friends and I'm dating this cop. Maybe I should tell him about that secret lab that I went to when the guys tried to kill me. So she must not remember.
No, but then she remembers when she decides to take it on and it's like her first mission. Goal in life, goal in Catwoman life.
So she puts on a real trampy Catwoman outfit, which is basically a bra and leather pants.
Yes.
With rips in them. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And then the Catwoman helmet.
Yeah.
And she's doing kind of this cat movement stuff. It was okay, but mostly just weird.
It's awkward. First of all, it seemed like computer animated. With the weird shine coming off of her and stuff.
Yeah, is this post-Oscar win or pre-Oscar win for her? Because I could see if this is post-Oscar win, she has not just ego, but she has a little bit of I'm an artist. So I could see Halle Berry sitting there for 6 months pulling a Daniel Day-Lewis and like trying to like be method and studying cat movement and being just on the set, just driving everybody nuts. Like, all right, action. No, a cat wouldn't walk on a railing like this. We're going to need to change the scene over there because a cat would walk on that railing and people are just like, oh, God. Okay, let's move the camera over. Like, just method cat acting. So, yeah, and because I am bringing it back to Pfeiffer because we should. Pfeiffer just had a strut, but she wasn't trying to always constantly do weird, like, cat movement. She just kind of walked around. So she goes to the docks, right? Because that's where bad guys hang out. I mean, if you're a superhero and you're in a movie and you need to go somewhere to find out something, you go to the docks. Mm-hmm. And her killer is there, of course. Perfect timing. Why is he there? Because he's a bad guy.
Well,
bad guys hang out at the docks.
And they just killed the chemist.
They just killed the chemist.
Yeah.
That clears something up for me because that little bit of dialogue, and Sharon Stone is in the limo.
Yeah.
I thought they were talking about Halle Berry.
No.
And I'm like, she's just touching base on this now? Like, did you kill that chick from 3 months ago?
No, this was the chemist because she finds out about something from him.
Yeah.
Which I forget. And then she ends up back at the lab.
Okay.
And is standing over the guy's body when, like...
He just killed the chemist and they're having
some other dude...
And she just happened to be there.
Lumbers in.
So, here's my note I said. Her killer is there, of course he is, because he's a bad guy. And if this was... I put a note here. If this was an episode of Law & Order, you'd be able to wrap up this case really quickly because you would just look for the guy moving boxes and that's your killer. Because it's always the guy who's moving boxes not paying attention because that's the guy who's trying to not be noticed. So she goes to a club. You're forgetting that part. She doesn't confront him at the dock. She goes to like a nightclub. Am I forgetting
that part?
You were trying to until I reminded you. I apologize. Yeah, so she orders a White Russian with no ice.
That was the twice. I remember that.
No
clip.
Booze.
Yep.
So it's just cream. This was the only time in this entire movie that I thought her doing cat stuff was a little clever.
Yeah.
To find a drink that has cream in it and have her go to a bar and order it with this, so it's just cream. And she drinks it and like licks her lips and
being all
smiles.
Sexy.
And then she does like a weird like dance because there's other ladies dancing up on a stage. And she does a weird dance because she's trying to seduce like the dude who's like up in his Yorgie room.
Yeah. And is he sitting back there? I don't even know why he's sitting back there.
He's sitting back in like a private weird booth just to watch people dancing. And she's
doing that weird dance. Was it around like little mirror walls or what was that?
It's
I don't know what was happening.
And she like takes a whip because I guess at this point she has a whip because she's Catwoman, and they need to have something to keep on going with the Catwoman. What people know as Catwoman, so she has a whip, and she like swings it onto a thing, and then she swings over to him, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "All right," and she goes to kiss him, and instead she starts pushing him out into the alley.
Thinking in his head, Yorgie never got this stuff.
Yeah, Yorgie never got it. If you don't know who Yorgie is, go back to the podcast, folks. Triple X. So she beats him up in an alley. It's a terrible... I have 2 notes here. Terrible fight scene. God, am I sick of this soundtrack. So she's beating a guy up. She gets info up on him that, the makeup's bad and there's a cover-up. And this is where she goes back to the lab. And she's like, she struts out of the alley and she's doing like this stuff with a whip. And I got to give props because I have a note here that says, I wonder how much whip practice Halle had for this movie. I honestly bet a lot. I'm sure she did a lot of training with the whip. Because she's like swishing it around and like lassoing it and stuff like that. So the whip work, one of our favorite segments of the Fastback podcast is where we discuss whip work. And the whip work on this was pretty good. I always like when an actor has to I have to learn how to play the piano for this, or I have to learn how to use. I worked on how to actually do card tricks for 6 months, so I'll give her props on that. You could tell she put some work in with that. She goes back to the lab. We see scientist guy who has morals is dead. Yep. And this is why. And now you've cleared this up for me because I said, how long has he been lying there? Because I thought they murdered him immediately after murdering Catwoman and just left him laying on the ground for 2 weeks. So he had just got murdered earlier that night.
And then she's standing there, and that one other guy, like, evil scientist guy, lumbers in.
One alarm goes off. Yeah,
well,
he lumbers in and turns the alarm off, and she jets.
Yeah.
And again, how did she get in there in the first place? This building, this facility, has the worst security for people getting in, but once you're in there, they're on top of their game.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody can walk in there.
Once the alarm actually goes off.
Anybody can walk in there, but...
What I want to know now here is, like, so later then, they start investigating the murder of this guy.
Yes.
And they immediately say Catwoman does it.
Yes.
And if you have a secret evil company that's selling evil cosmetics that will destroy women and all this other stuff, do you announce the murder of your scientist inside the secret lab with all of the evidence of the bad things to the police? Or do you just like, okay, we gotta cover this up?
Yeah, I don't know why you would announce it, period.
Yeah.
Later on, spoiler alert, when the husband gets killed, you would announce that because he's like the CEO of the company. So she visits her friend in the hospital because she doesn't remember any of this. So she visits her friend, and on the news it shows that Catwoman is framed for killing the scientist. Okay? And then I love this part. The friend has been having headaches.
Yeah.
And she's like, how long have you been having those headaches? She's like, oh. And basically it boils down to the entire time she's been rubbing this goo on her head, she's been having headaches.
Yeah.
But patients is like, well, don't use this anymore. And the lady's like, why? It's like, well, how long have you been having headaches? 6 weeks. How long have you been rubbing this goo directly on your head? 6 weeks. Well, I'm not a doctor, but if I was looking for a cause and effect, that's probably the first place I'd look. So she throws it off. And,
which, it's addictive, apparently, too. So that's the best thing to do with an addict, is just to completely just throw away their supply.
Yeah, but she must not have been using it long enough either to be disfigured or to get superpowers. Yeah. Okay, so she's fine. So she's still in the hospital. So he's at his desk, and he's got the cup. We forgot to tell this. This is important. This is a huge important plot. When she stood him up on that date, the first day she was Catwomaning it up, she brings him a coffee, and it says sorry on it.
Yeah.
Okay? And he's got that on his desk, because he must be a slob. And for some reason, he's got the bag that the jewelry was in sitting on his desk that says sorry on it. And he's looking at him. And he's like, oh, wait a second.
The
sorries match up. So he goes to the Sherlock of CSI handwriting guy, who I don't know how much handwriting analysis is true. I don't understand handwriting analysis for like, okay, yeah, he crosses his T's at this angle and he does this. But this guy is like the handwriting whisperer, where he can tell anything about you by how you write. He's like, see how closed up the O is? This is a person who's repressed. But see the Y on this? The Y is like an X instead. This is a dangerous person who doesn't play by the rules. Is this a thing?
A little, yeah.
Is it really? To a certain
extent, yeah.
Okay, all right. But I never knew this was a thing.
I don't know how in depth it goes.
All right.
But yeah, I do love how he prefaces all of this with, "This is not an exact science."
Yeah, this isn't an exact science.
No kidding.
But isn't it kind of a science? Or at least a skill? Like,
science-ish.
You don't want to go to somebody who's a pro at something and then have them be like, but there's no real rules for this. Like, if I go have my brakes fixed on my car, I don't want the mechanic to be, but it's all just a guessing game on how these brakes go on. Well, like, no, I need you to know how brakes go on the car.
I think it's because of the human element. You can't, like, guarantee that.
But he establishes that even though they look exactly the same, it's not the same person.
Yeah, because they're two different characters, because the O is...
Yeah, and Benjamin Bratt's like, whew, good.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want his girlfriend to be the Catwoman.
Yeah.
So, because she's, at this point, possibly a murderer. So they go to a fair. The next day they go to a fair. Romantic stuff. They're on a Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
Ferris wheel breaks.
Yeah, Ferris wheel is comically broken.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, in real life, this would be terrifying. And there's some carny down on the ground just pulling back and forth on a lever frantically. Yeah. While gears are ripping
while on the
out.
opposite side, the gears are just like...
Gears are breaking out. The thing is turning upside down.
Yeah.
And yet this carny is frantically and pulling on this gear. And people are like, hey, maybe stop that.
Benjamin Pratt with his degree in Ferris wheels.
It would be terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
If you were up at the top of a Ferris wheel and those carts start, like, spinning around and stuff like that.
Oh, no, it would be, but...
This does for Ferris wheels what Jaws did for swimming. This movie's a lot like Jaws in a way. What do you think about it? So Benjamin Bratt's like, I gotta climb down
and fix this Ferris
wheel.
Because
maybe not fix the Ferris wheel, but at least stop the moron from pulling back and forth on that lever that's making things worse, is all I can think of. So
he does that.
He does that. He scales down it. And there's a kid in one of the carts or whatever it's called.
Yeah, who's like a toddler.
Yeah.
Who clearly shouldn't be on the Ferris wheel by himself.
I'm not a parent, so I'll let you say that. I don't know anything about it.
Who's freaking out because his, like, gate thing is coming loose.
Yes.
And the mom is down there.
Would.
Yeah. The mom is down there being like...
She's freaking out.
Yeah. And everything goes pear-shaped. Catwoman jumps out, saves him.
She saves him. She catches him just in time.
Yeah. And
Benjamin Bratt just pulls a bunch of weird wires out of a box.
Yeah. And then he also...
him pulling the wires out of the box makes it worse because it jolts it forward, and that's how the kid almost falls out.
And then he jams a ginormous wrench through all the gears to stop it.
Nobody in this entire thing is just sitting still, which would be what you would do if the Ferris wheel broke. You would sit still in your thing and wait for whatever for it to be repaired. And then the fair just stays open.
Yeah, everything's fine.
Everything's fine. She gives the kid back to the mom, and she's like, hang in there, tiger. Yeah. You're all right. And the mom's like, thank you. And she's like, no problem. Fair just stays open.
Yeah.
Ferris wheel's closed. It would have been great if in that establishing shot the Ferris wheel was still working. But the fair just stays open because in these movies there's no repercussions for huge tragedies almost happening.
Then...
And this is one, I have a note right here, and this is awesome. This is a great, happy accident. At this point, I paused the movie again. 40 minutes still.
Yeah, okay.
We paused it at the exact same time. That's amazing.
It was a terrible...
And I go, 40 minutes, and I go, I have a note here. That can't be possible. Because it's like one of those things when you're at work and you want to go home.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the clock, and you're like, it's 2 o'clock. And it feels like it's been 6 hours, and you look at the phone again, and it's 2:20, and you're like, there's no way it's only been 20 minutes. This is how I was with this. I'm like, there's no way that there's only been 20 minutes since I paused this the last time.
I kept on thinking, at that point, I was like, don't they have, like, actual plot to get back to?
Yeah.
Like, isn't there actually something happening?
Well, that's why I kept forgetting about what was happening. So getting back into the actual plot, she breaks into the boss's mansion. Because now she knows there's a cover-up.
Wait, don't they have a romantic interlude first?
Not yet.
Okay, that's...
Not yet. She breaks into the boss's mansion.
Oh, yeah.
And Sharon Stone hits her with a golf club. Mm-hmm. And they fight.
Because cat senses are just... Which I don't understand, too. So cat senses are great for everything, except for golf clubs and fighting Sharon Stone.
Yeah, well, I did because I was wondering about this too before you picked me up this morning. Mm-hmm. Okay. I called the vet that my family uses. And I spoke to our veterinarian. And I said, do cat senses work on sensing golf clubs or Sharon Stone? And my veterinarian was alarmed. And he said, whoa, has Boots been around golf clubs or Sharon Stone? Do you need to bring him in? And I was like, no, I just want to know for future reference. And he said, yes, absolutely, that cat senses will not work on golf clubs or Sharon Stone attacks. So we can confirm scientifically that this movie was accurate in the research.
Cats able to surf on criminals?
Yes. He said that was fine.
But they are weak to Sharon Stone.
Golf clubs and Sharon Stone attacks.
That makes sense.
So she is able to manipulate Catwoman into thinking that, this is my husband. She plays dumb.
Yeah.
And she goes, I knew my husband was crooked, but I didn't want to think he was this crooked.
Oh, yeah, and then she gets him.
I'll help you bring him down. Yep. Well, I'll help you. Here's my phone. So I can call you if I need to.
Yeah.
This isn't a trap. Take my cell phone. I'll call you. So now we're at a play. And
we're at the play.
Creepy boss is with young girlfriend. And I thought for a second, that they wanted this to be cats.
Oh, yeah.
But they just couldn't somehow afford to get the rights, or they couldn't film inside of it. You know they wanted this to be the Broadway musical Cats. They were
they refused to license this because it was below Cats' dignity.
Yeah, and the guy is a jerk, and the girl's like, I think this play isn't that good. And he's like, don't do that. She's like, don't do what? He's like, don't think. Yeah. That's how this relationship's going to work. So she gets up and just leaves. Yeah. Rightfully so. And I think that's the last we ever see of that character.
She's gone.
And he doesn't care because this is probably dime a dozen for him. Mm-hmm. And so he's sitting there. And
Which
then,
I have to say, she's that new, like...
She's the new model.
Yeah, face of the cosmetic place.
Is this the greatest character in this movie?
So, like, to just be like, yeah, I'm out to the boss.
Oh, yeah, she gave up her contract, probably.
I mean, that would have had serious repercussions on her career.
She's the best character in this movie.
And she did not have Catwoman powers.
No.
She just had confidence.
Yeah, she just had self-respect.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So then Catwoman sits in the seat next and starts talking. He looks over. Oh, it's Catwoman. And she, like, jumps on him and scratches his face. And he says, get your paws off me.
Yep.
Which, would you say paws or would you say hands? You would say hands.
You'd say hands.
You want to say get your paws off. That's terrible.
I don't even think I'd say get your hands off me. If I was being, like, attacked by...
You would say help.
Yeah, I'd be like...
The Catwoman murderer is up here.
I would be a little bit too preoccupied with defending myself to shout witticisms.
Cops just are bursting into this theater like there's 100 of them, just like waiting at the lobby through every entrance. They're just filing down the aisles. And Catwoman is running, and she gets up on stage. And did you notice that the performers on stage did not miss a beat?
They were doing it, man.
The show goes on.
Yeah.
If it's crazy Catwoman... Gunfire going off, cops rushing the stage. They're still twirling up on doing their Circus Soleil thing or whatever it's called. What's it called?
Cirque du Soleil.
Is it called Circus Soleil?
Yeah.
Okay.
This wasn't it, but yeah.
No, this wasn't it. So they're up in the rafters, and Benjamin Brett catches her, and they have a confrontation.
Yeah, they do.
And there's just... many bad puns.
Oh, it's Punville.
About cats. Cats come when they feel like it, not when they're told. And she's trying to be sexy, and she's not. And I say, no, there's so many puns. This is truly awful. I was going to try to write some of them down. I couldn't. I didn't want to. There's just pun. Every line is pun, 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 pun. And she cuts the lights, and she escapes.
Yeah.
She kisses him first.
She licks his face.
She licks him.
Because cats lick. So
the next part doesn't make any sense. Oh, so she does do the licking.
Yeah. Well, on him.
The next part doesn't make any sense later on down the line, and we'll get to it. She cuts the lights. She goes, can you boys see in the dark? I can. And she cuts the lights, and we cut to a scene where now the boss dude, he's angry. Because does she confront him? Does she tell him about hiding stuff?
Yeah, you know what your products are doing.
Yeah, so he goes to Sharon Stone, and he's like, what's going on, man? This scientist is dead. This lady's telling me that our stuff causes deformities. And you realize, oh, this guy, he doesn't know anything. He's just a jerk.
Yeah.
He's not criminally...
He's evil for other reasons.
He's evil for other reasons, but he's not a criminal here. And Sharon Stone tells him off, and he slaps her. And he realizes that, he's like, oh, my hand. And, he realizes that her face is, made out of, stone or whatever. Okay? And it's just did that have to do with her name, Sharon Stone? Is that part of this?
It just dawned on me, too. I was going to make a Stone. Sharon Stone.
Oh, God.
But I hope not.
So he's in trouble. And she's...
Because that's really the worst superpower ever.
Yeah, and she is then back at her apartment. And she has a heart-to-heart with a friend again about what she should... They're sitting on a couch eating ice cream, and she's talking about what she should wear to the date. And I'm thinking, why is this still your motivation? I understand, you got to have a balance. And, this is my love life. This is my fighting crime. And that superhero movies always have to have that duality of, how does Bruce Wayne get to keep the girl when he's Batman? And how can Superman be with Lois Lane if she's always in danger?
This is what always was, starting to bother me. It was, because it's a mix between, I am, empowered Catwoman.
Yeah.
And then immediately it was cut back to scream.
Well, that's why I don't understand fully.
And it was I don't...
How much she's the same person at the same time. Yeah. It's split personalities.
All of the jumping back and forth, much like the basketball scene, it was getting to be mentally...
So the next scene, they're at dinner, and she likes fish, of course. Yep. She's looking at fish in a fish tank, and then they do a second fish thing.
She's eating the sushi.
She's eating sushi real fast. And this was confusing because I go, is this their first date? Because he tells Catwoman he's taken. When she's like, do you have a girl? He's like, I'm taken. She's like, oh, what would she think about this? And that's when she licks him in the face. And I go, no, this isn't their first date. They just had a date at the fair. But it seems like the first time these two people have ever had a conversation.
They keep on...
Because like, what are you doing for your job? Oh, how long have you been a cop? It's like, have they never talked before?
Maybe
on any of the other times they've...
Maybe one of the Catwoman powers is that you have to also have the 100 first dates.
Oh, is that a thing?
That was that movie. Remember the movie? How come I remember this movie?
I think it's called 50 First Dates.
50 First Dates?
Yeah, and that's because she has amnesia.
Yeah, well, I loved it so much I wish there's 100.
Yeah, well, you just watch it twice. That would be the sequel. Would be called 100 First Dates. 50 more first dates. 50 second dates? What would the sequel be? 100 first dates, 50 more first dates, or 50 second dates? Can we do our first Twitter poll about
10
this?
10 squared.
Can we do our first Twitter poll about this?
I'm excited about it.
Well, nobody will see it. Maybe in a year from now, if we have people listening to this and they're scrolling back,
they'll go back witness the logs.
I get weird likes every now and then for tweets we did like a month ago.
Oh, yeah.
So somebody goes through and sees these things. I think there's a little bit more life to a tweet than people lead on if you're searching for certain things. So they have this date, and like I said, they're like actually talking about themselves for the first time ever, like what they do for a job and why didn't you try to be an artist and all this.
Yeah.
And they walk out and it rains. She hates rain. Oh, cats don't like water. And then they sleep together.
Yeah.
You know.
Romantic interlude.
Yeah. And I write, of course he has scratches on his back.
Yeah.
They make a point to show scratches, which is just...
Because that's what cats do.
Tacky and stupid, and this movie's terrible.
Cats do that when they have
But the real point is he finds a missing jewel.
It was her claw.
He finds her claw. Yeah, one of her claws, one of her jewel claws. And he steals a glass out of her apartment for a lip print.
Yeah,
is there such thing as lip prints? Maybe. Is there such thing as lip prints?
I mean,
can you identify people too? I know you can do
I think
fingerprints and
you
teeth.
Could probably at least have enough evidence to be like there's kind of the similar lips.
Sharon Stone calls her. He books out of there. She wakes up. Sharon Stone calls her and says, we have to stop the husband together. Okay. She's researched it. Yes, he's dirty.
Yeah.
There's a press conference launch tomorrow morning. We got to do something about this before he launches this product at a press conference, even though it seems like she would be able to do something about it, because it seems like even though she's just the model, she seems pretty high up at this company herself.
There's definitely
like
some
weird,
controlling interest.
Yeah. So he is back at headquarters, and he matches up the print from the glass to a photo of a lip print on his cheek from when she kissed him. But that's what I'm talking about. She didn't kiss him. She licked him. And would that be evidence? Would they take a picture of the lip? I guess in a universe where lip prints are a thing, you would take a picture.
Brett just has a secret collection of photos of lip prints on him.
Like a woman kisses him and he takes a picture of it. That's pretty creepy. But like, I guess in a world where lip prints are a way to identify somebody for crimes, you would have a database of lip print pictures. Mm-hmm. It's evidence, I guess. So he matches.
When did he get kissed?
What's that?
When did he get kissed by Catwoman? He didn't.
He didn't. The only time that he would have had that is when she did the weird lick.
Unless maybe like she was doing some serious lip writing on him.
No, it was like a distinct bottom lip print and not a top lip print.
I was like, no.
I'm sorry.
If you just heard that was me doing a fake tongue lip thing.
It was you feel lucky, people, that you didn't have to see it and you only had to hear it. I had to see it.
I was testing out the movies CSI.
Yeah, this movie's completely falling apart now. So Sharon Stone, because of that, Sharon Stone is angry, right? Because she gives her a little monologue about how after 40, she was thrown away. And this seemed like a slight little bit of commentary about what Sharon Stone probably experienced herself in the movie industry, and a little bit of commentary about what actresses have to deal with.
You're getting commentary on the fact that, once
an actress turns 40...
certain age, it's like over.
It's over, and you start getting roles where you're the mom in this.
Yeah, you're the grandma.
And I was thinking about this, like, you're the mom. There's a movie, and it's about a young girl, and she's out in the world, and she's making her way, and she's stubborn. I was like, oh, am I playing the... No, you're playing the mom. We're getting this hotter 23-year-old actress to play the young girl. Well, how can I be playing the mom? I'm only 11 years older than her. No, you're the mom. It'll be great. It'll be the great. And it has to be crappy, because that doesn't... Not to get on a tangent.
You're the sassy grandma.
That doesn't happen to guy actors, because as we saw in this American-made trailer, 56-year-old Tom Cruise, his wife in this movie looks like she's played by a 23-year-old actress.
And 50-year-old Tom Cruise is really getting his old man jowls now. I noticed that in the...
Dude, I think 50-year-old Tom Cruise looks great. I think, is having a Paul Newman-esque where, like, yes, he's looking older, but Tom Cruise is still looking pretty good.
I'm just saying, I saw the jowls start. It was when he was flying the plane. He was, like, doing a woo. There they were.
Going back to a little bit of insight on us, if there's one thing that we've always appreciated is old man jowls.
Yeah.
And one thing we can look forward to is getting old man jowls. I'm going to have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, watch it. Because I remember when I saw Robert Redford getting old man jowls. I forget what movie it was. I think it was what was the movie where he was like the spy guy with
Spy Game.
Yeah.
That was his first. That when you first.
That's when I noticed it, and I'm just like, oh man.
Does Brad Pitt have old man jowls yet? Does Clooney have old man jowls? Can you please?
I will research this.
For the love of everything good, for the love of everything good in the world, on our podcast, every now and then have a post where it's a picture of an actor
with the old
man, and you just do like a John Madden, like you could do it in like Google Paint or whatever it's called, Microsoft Paint, where you have the yellow circle around the jowls with an arrow, and then the word jowls, and like that would be great. Like jowls.
I will work on that.
Fastbag Podcast.
Well, I do know
busting out old man jowls.
There's that new Brad
2017
Pitt movie on Netflix where he plays that old like.
Yeah, he's like a general.
Yeah.
Does he have jowls there?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look. But I do know he looks a lot like.
Want this to be a
he looks a lot like the one captain guy from The Last Ship.
And he looks a lot like his character from that Tarantino movie. Where he's Glorious Bastards.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
point being is like male actors don't really have to deal with this.
Oh no.
We were talking about the movie Catwoman, weren't we?
Yes, we
were.
Male
actors don't have to deal with this. Female actors have to deal with it a little more. And male actors don't have to deal with it until much later. They eventually do, but it's much later in their career. And then it's in a weird way, because it comes so much later in their career, it's almost more depressing because more is lost. Like when you see old Harrison Ford trying to be Indiana Jones, it's almost more shocking when it happens to them. Because we're used to it for female actresses. So male actors then have to have that line where it's like, I'm getting too old for this.
Yeah, but I think that's... I don't want to get into this because this takes us down a whole nother...
This takes us down a whole thing.
I do think, getting back to the beginning of this, though, I do think it was interesting because if this were any other film...
Yeah.
That moment where it was like a critique on age and beauty and all of this other stuff...
Yeah.
It would have held a lot more weight. In this movie, it's just like...
Yeah, in this movie, it was just a thing that I think Sharon Stone is intelligent enough and probably... I think that scene did not come from the screenplay originally. I think that scene came from Sharon Stone.
Okay, I can see that.
I think she's intelligent enough and was in the business long enough to be like, can we do a little scene where I talk about how it's BS that being 40 is old for a woman in this industry?
Yeah.
When being 40 for a man in almost any other walk of life, you're really just getting started for as far as your career goes, no matter what it is. So we've talked about that enough, I guess. She goes back to the house, and we see that Sharon Stone has killed the husband.
Yep.
She's going to frame Catwoman. She throws her the gun. Catwoman catches it. It was me all along, Catwoman. And she doesn't know who Catwoman is yet, but now Catwoman knows who she is. She pushes an alarm.
Yep.
This was great. She pushes an alarm immediately.
Oh, yeah. Instantly.
We mean instantly. As if they're in the next room. 4 or 5 security guards run into the room. 1, where were they when Catwoman snuck into the premises to begin with? And 2, did they not, if they were that close, We're talking about the next room, close enough where you would overhear the conversation that they were just having. You would certainly overhear her killing her husband.
You would have probably heard the gunshots. You would have heard the
gunshots an hour earlier. Unless they just all work for her and they know. The security guards at the lab knew that they were killing somebody. So maybe they're in on it. Yeah. And at the end, he says, we have enough people that we're questioning that are going to come clean now that she's dead and say this was all a frame. Yeah. So maybe that's why. Because I watched it, I'm like, it's like they're in the next room.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe they are in the next room. Maybe that's the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, but at that case, call the cops. Don't have your security service do it. Cops are on their way, yeah, because she starts crying, my husband. So I have a note here after that says, I really hate this movie. Because at this point I do. She runs out into the night, and when she runs out into the night, there's already on a Jumbotron in the street a full news story playing about how Catwoman has murdered the CEO.
Makeup guy.
Complete with her boyfriend cop being interviewed.
Yeah.
So how much time has passed?
Well, that's the thing. He's interviewed at the crime scene, like he's doing the rundown of, oh man, they killed this makeup guy.
So, was there a missing scene? I guess there's some time that's passed because they live out in the country and
hours would have had to have passed.
Is back in the city. So she goes back to the apartment and the cop guy is waiting in there to bring her in. And again, I say, how much time has passed? Because wasn't he just at the crime scene? So this has to be over the course of hours.
Yeah.
We're just going to say it's been over the course of hours to make it work in our brain better. He brings her back, and he interrogates her, and I kind of like this one scene, a little bit of clever screenwriting. She calls back to the thing on the ledge, and she's like, remember when you saw me on the ledge and you thought I was jumping? Turns out I was trying to save a cat. First impressions can be deceiving. Mm-hmm. Maybe your impression about me on this is wrong, too. You know, you jumped to conclusions then. You were wrong. Can you please just trust me now? And he's like, nope. No, we're going to lock you up.
Yeah.
You're a murderer.
The lip prints don't lie.
This is different. And at this time, I paused it again. 20 minutes left. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay. I was so happy to see there was 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
I was so happy. So he locks her up. And then, this was a great line. There's a cop. There's a cop at the precinct. Okay, and he's bummed out, and he's looking over the evidence, and he says, look at it this way. You may have lost your woman, but at least you got your man. Good line. And then that guy just disappears.
Yeah.
No, he showed up earlier, and he gives my actual favorite line, and I'm going to save it for my favorite line segment.
All right.
That guy had the two best lines in the whole entire movie, that one being one of them. And then cats show up around the thing. And at this point, I'm like, oh, please let cats break her out of jail. If cats break her out of jail.
Yeah, the cat shows up.
If the cat shows up.
Way in.
And the jail cell looks out onto a billboard. And, of course, the billboard is for the product.
Yeah.
And it's also a window that's open. Like an Old West jail thing that just has bars on it that just look out. Because it would never rain or snow or get cold. Or it's just an open jail cell.
Because that's what you do in jail.
Stupid. It's a jail. People, if you haven't seen this, it's a window with bars on it, like in an old Western. But she's like 6 stories up. But there's no window to close. So again, like, if it rains or it's winter.
Any sort of weather.
Or if there's any sort of weather.
It would be a big...
The cat needs to be able to come in,
There would be lawsuits filed.
And why is this window even open? And then the cat comes in, and then she squeezes through the bars. And I have here...
The cat.
The cat squeezes through the bars to come into the jail cell.
Uh-huh.
She just squeezes through the bars to walk out into the rest of the precinct. She, like, squishes herself
this
up.
Part. Okay.
Yeah, she turns sideways and kind of squishes herself in, because cats can get through little places.
Yep.
She squishes herself in, and I say, this is not a power. The bars are, like, 4 feet apart. Pretty much anybody could do this. Go back and watch it. She just turns sideways and walks through the bars. She jumps out of a window, maybe like 10 stories, and a guy goes, are you okay? So stupid, man. And she steals his car, and she's off into the night.
At least in Fast and Furious, The Rock wakes up with a cast on his arm.
Yeah, are you okay? Yeah, I just saw you jump out of a prison window. So we find out that the press conference is the day after the husband got killed. right? We know that because when she calls her on the phone originally, she says the press conference is tomorrow. We see Sharon Stone, and she's giving some kind of like little speech, and she's saying, and I'm thinking, is this the press conference? No, she's giving a speech to announce that the press conference is still going on as planned, because that's the way the husband would want it. Yeah, my husband was brutally murdered today, but don't worry, we're gonna have this business press conference tomorrow.
He believes in makeup so hard.
Makeup, yeah. And so I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, so the press conference at this point is still tomorrow. Has all of this stuff happened that we've just been talking about for like the past 20 minutes in the same night?
She was arrested, booked.
Went to the house, visited, fought the guy in the nightclub. Went to the house, got confronted by Sharon Stone, was framed by murder, questioned. All this has happened in the same night. Is that what we're establishing?
I think so. Cat time.
All right. So she goes to the docks again.
They say cats live, 7 years for every human year?
Oh, maybe that's part of it.
So and she's just blazing through this.
They don't do the 9 lives thing in this.
No.
That seems like a missed opportunity. They do that in Michelle Pfeiffer. That seems like a missed opportunity where she gets shot in the stomach or something by Catwoman, and she comes back at the end because cats have 9 lives. But whatever. She goes to the docks.
They should have been singing the meow, 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 meow song, too.
That would have been great. There would have been Transformers-esque product placement for cat food. She goes to the docks, and she sabotages the trucks, which she could have just done from the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know what she does to sabotage the truck. She attaches the wheels all together with chain, and the first one takes off, and it pulls the wheels off of all the other trucks or something like that. And at this point, Benjamin Bratt is back at the house, and he's talking to Sharon Stone. He's questioning her about who really killed her husband, and he is trying to get her to confess by acting like he's a dirty cop.
Yeah.
Like, what does he do? He's like...
Yeah, something about like, oh, if you pay me...
Yeah. He's like, I know, but listen, nobody else has to know. We can keep this between us. You're a rich, powerful woman. Nobody has to know. And she's like, well, what do you want? And he's like, just what I got for you to tell me.
Yeah.
Because now I know. No, you don't. She didn't say anything. He didn't. It's almost like he let the cat out of the bag too soon because he's like, busted. It's like, no, you probably should have like, I don't think that's how it works. Like, maybe let her hang herself a little bit more.
I was just asking you, like, what kind of stuff you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess you could maybe say that implied.
He pulled the gotcha moment too soon, is what we're saying. But he gets her to confess. She does her James Bond villain. I did it because of this and this and this. You're never going to know anyway. She tries to kill him. And Catwoman saves him, even though she was just at the docks.
Cat powers, man.
She was just at the docks.
Didn't they have that scene where she was like butchering across the city on the rooftops, all cat light?
I thought that was at the end of the movie.
There's a few scenes like that, I think.
Okay. Well, Benjamin Bratt gets shot.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Catwoman pretends not to be Halle Berry. Even though he knows who she is. She knows he knows who she is. Does she know who she is? Is Catwoman another personality? I shouldn't be asking all of this with 10 minutes left in the movie. They never really clear up how much she knows as Catwoman. Because she's like, I don't think your girlfriend's going to like this. He's like, Patience, give it a rest.
I think...
Like, what are you doing?
By the end of the movie, I think it's clarified. Because she writes the note and then, like, I'm going to live. I'm fully...
So why is she still trying to act like Catwoman?
Giving myself over to Catwoman.
Why is she acting like Catwoman? Why is she pretending like it's a dual personality when he knows who she is? Because like I said, even he's like, yeah, no, Patience, I know you're Catwoman. So
You're thinking too hard.
I'm thinking too hard. She tracks down Sharon Stone. Mm-hmm. They have a garbage fight scene. Which folks, if we don't get into the finer details of amazing action sequences like in the Fast and Furious, we're not going to try to get into the details of this just terrible fight. Point being, they fight... she once again, Catwoman gets lots of cover to escape by being sprayed for 15 minutes with a fire extinguisher, only for Sharon Stone to be surprised that she's not there when the fire extinguisher is done. She just gets hit from the side. Somehow Halle Berry lands on a plane of glass that is horizontal. Yeah. That if you fall through, you would fall out of the building. Yeah. Some weird structure.
They're in some like skyscraper thing that has the weird overlook.
So there's like
overlook thing, and
there's like she falls through the glass.
It starts cracking,
and then Sharon Stone breaks through the glass because she's like hitting her with like a pipe.
Yeah.
And the stomach, and the glass is breaking. Glass breaks. Catwoman has herself Batman-esque.
Yeah, she's
holding herself in with her hands and her arms. And then she does a thing where she basically jumps from a lying down position with nothing under her. She yells it's overtime, which is terrible.
I love, see, that is...
How does she propels herself forward just through the power of her arms and legs?
Yeah,
you can see people in real life who are very acrobatic, who can lay on the ground and kind of do that thing where they push themselves up on their feet. She does it through nothing. And she yells it's overtime, so that means that Halle Berry has 2 terrible catchphrases in 2 superhero action movies. It's overtime in this, and at the end of the original X-Men when she's Storm and she fries Toad and she says, like, everything burns. She just got a history of just terrible punchlines. She scratches Sharon Stone's face all up. She throws her out the window that's broken. She tries to save her.
Yeah.
She's holding on to her, but Sharon Stone has gloves on her. So she has gloves on.
Yeah.
So Sharon Stone can't get a good grip.
And she notices, I think she notices that she's like ugly now or something. Something's going on with Sharon Stone.
That's what I thought. I thought she noticed, and she's like, oh, screw this.
Yeah, I can't live anymore.
Did she catch a reflection of herself in the glass
or
something like that?
Yeah.
We forget that Sharon Stone had pretty brutally stabbed Halle Berry in the leg, too, with a shard of glass. But she's getting around okay.
Because you can stab cats. Cats are good with stab wounds.
Yeah, she falls to her death, even though she's supposedly made out of... I'm wondering if they're set this up for a sequel, because supposedly she's made out of stone at this point. But I guess you're fine with lightweight hand-to-hand fighting, but falling out of 20 stories, you're dead.
Yeah, maybe it's just a certain type of stone.
Yeah, so she falls to her death.
Mm-hmm.
This is terrible, man. This is a chore to talk about. Yeah. Benjamin Bratt
shows up
at the rooftop.
It's like, if you get back into prison, they won't notice that you have left.
If you're back in your cell by morning, it's going to be hard to prove that you're Catwoman, because they'll be like, oh, you couldn't be Catwoman. Catwoman was here.
Yeah.
And you've been here all night. Sorry, we're wrong. And I said, well, is no one else at the precinct to notice that this prisoner is not in their cell anymore?
Does no one do rounds? What?
And how is she going to get back in the cell? And then he says, we have a lot of people who are ready to talk, all her goons and her security guys, so you're going to be fine. So I guess, why do they have to sneak her back in? How are they going to sneak her back in if she's going to be proven innocent anyway? Why
crawl through the window?
Why does it matter?
Like midnight.
Yeah. Why does it matter? She's innocent. I guess
if you escaped...
Yeah, if you're escaped, that's fine.
Then that's an issue.
So then the friend is back, and we see that she's dating the doctor that she talked about the whole movie.
Yep.
It shows the cat lady sitting on a porch in a rocking chair. I don't know why she's on a country porch all of a sudden, but she's on a country porch.
Enjoying her ice-cold glass of country time lemonade.
Yeah. And she stops and she writes the cop guy a letter. Yeah. Basically a Dear John letter. She's out of there. She's splitting.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for nothing, cop guy.
Yeah.
Seems like she wrote these letters to everybody. She's cutting everybody out of her life, basically.
Yeah, and so Benjamin Bratt's just sitting there at the coffee shop, all sad.
Yeah. And she's strolling along the rooftops, and despite the absurd outfit, this part to me actually looked okay. Yeah. Because it's Catwoman at night on the rooftops in the moonlight. This is what I think the Michelle Pfeiffer movie would have looked like. This is the closest imagery to it in the whole movie. She's whipping the whip and kind of doing her walk.
Yeah.
And she says they live in different worlds. Freedom is power to live untamed. So my journey begins. So does patience. Her alter ego, not like this cop guy anymore. It's confusing. Because why can she not be dating the cop? She really likes the cop.
She can, people
is it just like patience? Has the Catwoman personality now repressed?
Well, that's
the
what
patience personality?
Because you can have multiple facets to your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I am not just, my career is not me. I am more than that.
Yeah, so that was just weird to me. She leaves the guy, and the guy's like, oh, man. And it just came out of nowhere. Yeah. It was all confusing. So that's the movie Catwoman. Yeah. I'd say in a nutshell, but 2 hours and 13 minutes is not a nutshell. Let's get through this.
Yes.
Most absurd moment.
Her outfit.
I thought you had said you had a most absurd moment earlier. I thought it was the Googling.
No, the Googling wasn't an absurd moment.
Oh, I thought you thought her Googling Catwoman was.
I thought that was ridiculous. But here, let me go with this. Mm-hmm. Not her Catwoman outfit. the outfit she wore generally that had the weird flappy sleeves.
Oh, yeah, because she's a beautiful woman who works in the fashion industry who wouldn't know how to dress herself other than in a potato sack.
I asked my wife earlier today, I'm just like, so in the early 2000s, do you remember where, like, they had these, like, sleeves that were a foot too long?
Real schleppy.
And
a big skirt that, like, Quaker would wear.
Yeah, and she had said, I do remember them. They never got popular, but it was something that they kept on pounding you with in movies.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
And I saw that. The whole movie, I was like, why are you wearing that? Well, she played basketball in those sleeves.
Yeah, she played basketball in it, and it's just absurd.
It would be the most... They would be so filthy.
That's what you're taking from this. That you can't play basketball in long sleeves. Best line, I would want to give a best line here. At one point, Benjamin Bratt, we didn't talk about this, is in the precinct, and he talks to the same guy who says, you lost your woman, but you got your man. And he's sitting there, like, thinking about, like, is Halle Berry the woman for him? And he's like, hey, Jimmy, let me ask you something. Would your wife crawl out onto the ledge to save a stray cat? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, maybe if it was holding a pizza. I don't understand. It makes no sense. Is he talking crap about his wife?
I think so.
Are we assuming his wife is overweight or something like that?
She loves pizza. She only values
and Benjamin Bratt laughs because he obviously has probably seen the wife, so it's an inside joke between them. But it was just, maybe if the cat was holding a pizza. That guy has the two best lines in the entire movie. The only respectable character is the model who leaves the creepy old guy who tells her not to think. And the guy with the best lines is the cop who's in it for 2 minutes.
Aside from the motorcycle guy.
Aside from the motorcycle. Oh, yeah.
That we never see.
Hey, that's my bike. So, the fact of this movie... Okay, this movie was made in 2004. I'm going to kind of... This is all I needed to know. This movie had a budget of $100 million.
Holy cow.
10 years earlier, okay, Jurassic Park cost $63 million. So Jurassic Park cost $63 million to make. And I know people talk about inflation, but we're not talking about having $5,000 in 1920 and having $5,000 now. We're talking about 10 years. Jurassic Park cost $63 million to make. Catwoman cost $100 million. Now, to be fair, Spider-Man 2, the Doc Ock one, did we see that? I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, I saw that. I think that was a $2.
To be fair, that came out the same year, and it cost $200 million. Okay? But there's no way that Catwoman should have cost $100 million.
I don't get it.
I don't know where the money was, but it's $100 million for Catwoman in 2004.
Those fashionable shirts with the long sleeves.
Yeah, they probably had to buy them all up. So, and then again, a little bit of a fact. This was supposed to be, we talked about this, was supposed to be a Michelle Pfeiffer spinoff, written by Waters, directed by Burton. Batman Forever and everything we talked about earlier in the podcast, though, kind of made that fall through as they started to move towards a more family-friendly direction.
And more stupid.
Yeah. How many wheels? I don't know how many claws. That's stupid. How many? Our rating system is wheels because we talk about out of 4 wheels, because we usually do movies involving cars and action sequences. Yeah.
This stupid
thing. Did we go too far off the beaten path with this?
It was a
I did not enjoy this.
It was a movie.
We tend I've been listening back to our podcasts, and the only part, well, we go long, but we tend to kind of ramble a little bit when it comes to our how many wheels. At least I do. You're pretty straightforward. I'm going to try to correct that. How many wheels do you give this thing? It's 0.
Yeah, I was going to give it a half. I can't give it a 0. I didn't hate it that much, but I hated it a lot more than Top Gun.
Can you only not give it a 0 for the same way we haven't been able to give something 4 yet? Because once you give it a 0, you're saving that for... I think that only works for good reviews. Like, you don't want to give something 4 stars because then you have to give something else just as good 4. When you get down to negative reviews, multiple things can have 0. Like, you can't say, like, well, if Catwoman's a 0, I can't say that such and such is a 0.
This is true. That's
true. No, once you get to the 0 level, 0 is 0. You don't have to compare it to other zeros. So this for me is just
yeah, I'm going with 0.
I wonder how much of it was influenced by seeing an incredible movie like Wonder Woman and then coming home and 2 hours later watching Catwoman. I think that changed my experience a little bit too.
That would destroy it.
Because Wonder Woman is incredible. And this is just awful. So you're giving it a half wheel.
I don't know anymore.
I give it
0 to a half. 0. I'm done with 0.
I just didn't. There wasn't anything redeemable in it.
There was funny lines.
There was a couple funny lines.
I remember like when they did the overtime thing. I thought that was hilarious because of how terrible it was.
All right.
And I thought to myself, too, like, how did we decide what game it was? When Sharon Stone was like, game over, she's like, it's doing an overtime.
Did she say game over?
Yeah.
Oh, I gave it a little bit more respect for the overtime. I thought it was a callback to basketball. I'm like, they're trying to tie in the basketball.
Well, see, that's what I thought. I'm like, why didn't they could have just as equally? It was like, we're going into extra innings.
Yeah.
I started to think about why did you choose
overtime? Sounds better. They made the right choice on that. I forgot that she said game
time
over.
For sudden death.
She just says them all. She just pulls what's his name, Xander Cage. It just says like the 5 different lines long after anybody is listening. Yeah, 0 wheels. There wasn't just anything redeemable. There was usually in a movie there's like, but this character cracked me up. But this action sequence was great.
Yeah.
But the buddy was funny. This was just.
That's what I said. Even that part where it was getting a little political about age and
yeah,
when that even was like.
And I stand by that was just Sharon Stone.
Yeah, but it would have been far more poignant in a movie that wasn't like. Now we're gonna have Halle Berry stirred around like oiled up in a leather pants.
So 0 wheels.
Yeah,
I agree. Next week we're going to, because we're trying to keep this a little topical. Like I said, I think we said we're going to see The Mummy.
Yep.
In theaters, beginning of the Universal's Dark Universe, maybe the end of Universal's Dark Universe. We'll see. I think there's already a couple of them like in production enough to where if this flops, they're like, well, we're already filming this. What are we going to do? We'll talk about that more next week if we think that it's going to expand into something more, if we think that's it. And we're also going to try a 2.
Yeah.
Because we have noticed, especially when we saw Fate of the Furious, when you don't have notes to go point to point, it's kind of, it doesn't take you long to talk about a movie.
Yeah.
So we're also going to be talking about and comparing and contrasting the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie. So it's going to be The Mummy / The Mummy, 2017, and I'm guessing 1999 maybe was the other Mummy movie. We'll find out. So thank you for listening to this this ongoing experiment in our podcasting, which has been successful, but even though maybe this particular episode was quite a bit of a failure. I did not.
May have made the Catwoman of the podcast.
Yeah, we made the Catwoman of the podcast. I didn't even enjoy talking about this movie. I didn't like Top Gun, but I loved
Top Gun was great because we spun off into everything.
Yeah, this movie I did not enjoy talking about. So thank you for anybody who is
listening to this whole thing
still at this point.
We salute you.
Go see Wonder Woman.
Okay.
And if this is 2 years later and you haven't seen it, watch it on Netflix. Watch Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Or Wonder Woman 2 or whatever's out at this point. See Wonder Woman. We'll talk to you next week. Don't watch Catwoman. You've heard that it's so bad it's good. It's not even so bad it's good. It just sucks to watch.
Yeah.
So thank you, folks.
Thank you.
As always, you can reach out to us at fastbackpodcast@gmail.com. Fastback Podcast on Twitter. Fastback Podcast on Facebook. YouTube. We're going to start to kick it up a little bit and do some more stuff with the website, which we do have a website, fastbackpodcast.com. Feel free to talk to us. We'd love to hear from you, and we will talk to you next week.
Join the forums at iHeartCatwoman.net.
Stay furious.